Welcome to the Acceptable Accuracy Podcast. I'm Philip.
I'm Tyler.
And we are here today to wrap up our series on the Wolverine 5K. We've got some special guests today that we'll get to introducing here just in a second. But just to recap on episode 1 and 2, we talked about gear and we talked about practicing. That'll definitely come up today. We'll discuss a few additional things along those lines as we have a couple guests with us that we want to have them the opportunity to discuss those things. So if they bring it up, we'll definitely go into that route and go down that path. But with no other delay here, let's introduce our guests. Tyler, would you like to do the honors of introducing the guests?
Yeah, sure. I could totally do that. We have Brent and Deryl.
Brent and Deryl, would you guys like to say hello?
I'm Deryl. He's Brent.
There we go.
I'm Chaos. He's Mayhem.
Wait, what?
So I want to start something new on when we have a set of guests on today, and they don't know this, but we're going to ask them a couple questions here that Tyler and I have talked about in advance, just to kind of get to know them a little bit as we step into this podcast, into this episode. But the first question that we have, and we'll start with Deryl here. Deryl, what is your favorite caliber?
My favorite caliber?
Yeah.
308.
Oh,
My man.
And in any reason that you love 308, as we love to call it so much?
Because of the research and the reading that I've done on the Marine Corps sniper outfit when they started it in the Vietnam era, and the rifle that they were using at that time.
I know that 308 kind of has this resurgence lately. It seems like there's a lot of people looking at like battle rifles versus like quote unquote assault rifles, right? That are running a 308 cartridge because it really is kind of a do all round, right?
It is.
The only disadvantage to it really is just its weight, which I think is why they went off of like the larger calibers for military use. They still use it today, obviously, in machine guns and sniper rifles as well as DMR rifles. All right, Brent, what is your favorite caliber?
Oh, it's 9mm for sure.
Does it have anything to do with your Instagram handle, does it?
Well, it didn't. I mean, it had everything to do with the Instagram handle at one time, but I am 100% social media free now, gentlemen.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Look at you. How are you going to listen to this podcast then?
It's going to be tough. Hoping it jumps on Spotify, to be honest with you. So
I'll get on my my rotary phone. I'll dial you up, and then I'll play it from one end to you over the.
So we can do the can with the strings. That would be good too.
You're gonna need Brent to come over and show you how to use that rotary phone.
Hey.
In all fairness, I grew up in the time of dial-up internet, and my parents refused to get touch tone, so we had to dial up with a rotary. That is how old I am.
Oh wow!
Touch tone.
Yep. What did you say? What is touch tone?
Yeah, what is that?
What?
All right.
I'm actually serious. What is that? Our listeners need to know.
Episode 6 of the Acceptable Accuracy Podcast will be covering touch tone technologies. All the pre-1990s stuff that Tyler has no idea what it is.
Dude, I'm born in 96. What do you expect? I'm like, I have no idea what that is.
All right, Tyler, I think that you have before we get down the touch tone route here, I think that you had a question for the guys as well, too.
I do have a question. So, Brent, what do you conceal carry on your daily? What do you like to carry?
On my daily, almost every day, I carry a Glock 48 with True Glow sights on it, extra magazine. I do that because it goes really nicely between open carry, which I primarily do, and concealed, which I have to do at work.
Gotcha. What do you Where in your body do you like to conceal carry with a 48?
Most when I'm concealing, most of the time it is in basically a shoulder pack. I'm
Okay.
one of those guys that has to have like a bunch of keys and a tape measure and a knife and like all this stuff. So it's a single strap shoulder. Um, it's really, I mean, it's super easy to draw out of. It rips open real big, and I can
Hmm.
get that bugger out of there pretty well, fairly quick. But I'm saying, if I'm not at work, it's on my hip in an alien gear holster, and it's open.
Gotcha. You hear that, Philip? He does shoulder carry. Man, why am I surrounded by people who shoulder carry?
Exactly. Well, we all know that your favorite carry method is fanny pack, Tyler. So
Okay, I fanny pack carry when I go when I back when I went to a public gym. I will admit I did fanny pack carry, but now it's just primarily in a tier one concealed appendix. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So, what about you, Daryl? How do you like to carry? What do you like to carry?
I carry a 6-hour P365 SAS version in a open top leather holster on my hip.
My man.
If if it's cold out and I have a jacket on, it's concealed. Otherwise, it's open.
That's awesome. And you
that
know
is awesome.
what about you, Philip? What do you like to conceal carry?
So
Your pink LC, right?
yeah, I carry the LCP because it's just big enough to be able to for me to be able to handle. Any bigger and it would just be too big.
There we go.
Yep. No, I actually carry a we lovingly have dubbed on this podcast and in real life the Poor Poet, which is a Glock 19 clone that is from Palmetto State Armory. It's the dagger. And I carry that, and I carry that on my side, and then in a hip holster I just got. That I'll tell you, I have gone down that route, and I don't want to get into this, but I have finally found something that actually works out for me, and that it doesn't make me want to hate myself after carrying it for a couple hours. So that was a big breakthrough for me.
Oh, good. Yeah, we can definitely talk more about that later. But all right,
Yep.
cool.
The last question, real quick, non firearms related, before we dig into it, and I don't want to belabor our topic of the day, but Brent and Daryl, and I'll start off with Brent this time. Um, what's your favorite band of all time?
Oh, wow. If I had to pick one band to listen to for the rest of my life on a desert island, it would probably have to be Pink Floyd because it checks all the boxes for me.
This is where Tyler says, "Who's
Who's
Pink
Pink
Floyd?"
Floyd?
I have no idea who that is.
Dude, we definitely got to get an Airbnb and I will show you the way.
All right, sounds great, man.
Tyler's gonna
Uh,
Google find out who Pink Floyd is as a guy, and later to find out that it's actually just a band. All right, how about you, Daryl?
I can't. I grew up listening to Bob Seger. I
Mm-hmm.
don't listen to him that much anymore. But if I had to pick a band that I listen to the most, it would be Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band. But as far as a favorite right now, I can't really say that I have one.
Just love all the music equally. So
No,
Taylor
no,
Swift it is,
No.
right?
we're
there we
not going
go.
there.
Or
Oh, that's
for Super Bowl, right?
yeah, that's isn't that who's playing the Super Bowl? It's Taylor Swift against
Eminem,
Eminem.
right?
Isn't that yeah, that's what I saw. Of course, now we've dated ourselves for this podcast as we we stack up our podcasts in order to
Hey,
it's
you
gonna
never know.
maybe we'll have it out the door by the time
Maybe.
it comes around.
I
I
got all
think
kinds of stories
I
about
think
Taylor
Bob's
Swift.
still alive.
So let's get kicked off the subject here real quick today. We are talking about the Wolverine 5K, specifically the day of the match and kind of what that looks like. Our experiences from this past year, 2023 Wolverine 5K, um, and to help the audience explain why we have Brent and Daryl with us today. The Wolverine 5K, like we mentioned before, is a team match and a team of four specifically. And this past year, because Tyler and I had done the Wolverine 5K together in 2022, and we had a couple gentlemen that were aging out quite literally because they were just getting to the point where they were too old, they didn't want to do anymore. We knew we had to look for two additional people that would take the Wolverine 5K seriously. So that would mean like, practicing getting ready for the rock in advance, doing all the work, figuring out like the actual event itself and making a good effort at actually competing in the event. And what people don't understand is that it can be difficult to find people that are truly as like ingrained and into the subject as you are. It could be for anything from firearms to biking to whatever, basketball, you name a team sport, right? Anyway, so we reached out to Brent and Deryl, who we had shot USPSA with, and they were all kind of down with it. So, what did you guys think when we reached out to you guys and we're like, "Hey, we want to do this thing called the Wolverine 5K"?
I was immediately overjoyed and thrilled because I had looked at this before um, and wanted to do it, but again, like you say, trying to come up with three other people that wanted to do it with you was a little difficult.
Yeah.
For me, guys, it was one of those things where, and I've said this in some of the other podcasts that we've been on. Um, I love the event. I love tactical stuff, but I love the brotherhood more than anything.
Hmm.
Just and that's not just with you guys because we've got that, and I honestly believe that's why we've made such a good team. But even with everybody else that's there, there's just kind of this thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we conquered this, and it's not necessarily, yeah, you want to do well,
Hmm.
but it's about finishing it, and it's about finishing it together and stronger, and then figuring out how you're going to do it better. So there was a whole bunch of reasons. I've always been a team guy, and it's a perfect opportunity. And you guys needed a couple of old dudes, so here we are.
We basically place our old guys with people who are slightly less older, slightly younger. Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. Great job with that one. Oh,
Slightly less older. Is that like a triple, quadruple
Slightly.
negative? What was that?
Well, okay. In my defense, I'm 40 years old or 40 plus, so I'm pretty old already. So trying to find people that
Oh
are
my
older than I am,
gosh.
so I can have like
dude,
that
40
built-in
is
excuse.
a third of your lifespan.
A third? What am I gonna live up to 120? Dang, son.
The Bible says we're supposed to live to 120.
I mean, if I
And
make
this is
it to
why we got a
120, I'll be
preacher on the
impressed.
team so he can pray us into that.
I'm just saying it's true. I'm like, I'll tell that to my pastor. Sometimes he's like, yeah, I don't want to go to 120.
No.
Why not?
Well, for one, Social Security won't take you that long. Not that you should be depending on that anyway, but
I don't
yeah.
have Social Security.
Do you think they'll take me as a Walmart greeter at 119?
Probably.
Absolutely.
I'll take anybody, man.
On the Walmart.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So I guess kind of a quick background on you guys for shooting. Um, you guys have been shooting for quite a while. You kind of do like just a quick recap what makes you eligible, I guess would be a good word or to describe for a match like this.
Well, they're better shooters than us.
Well, I
That's
mean
not
Ne-
that's a given.
Negative.
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 So,
So
what is
what?
your background?
Well, I have a background in long range shooting that you guys know about, which is, I think, one of the reasons that you wanted to have us on the team. Um, so we both shoot USPSA fairly competently. Brent's much better than I am, but um, and yeah, we'll just leave this shotgun part out of it.
You know, this is why I like you
Well,
guys.
well,
You know,
that's why
like
there is no shotgun for the
you
Wolverine
guys are like
5K.
Yeah,
these
you're right. I'm
people I know that
mixing
We
don't
it
like.
up.
literally left it out of it.
I'm just saying, I'm thankful for you guys. I feel like everyone else I talk to, like Tyler, you're so crazy. Why don't you like shotgun? I'm like, because it sucks.
No, it's because Joe Biden told you that you should have one. Therefore, you don't want one.
There.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Maybe
just
true.
fire a double barrel shotgun, give them warning shots in the air. I'm like, okay, that's not how it
Mhm.
works.
It's kind of funny on that question, Phil, that you just asked Daryl. Um, when I was a young boy, my dad kind of got me into bullseye shooting, which is single-handed, can't parry, cool stuff.
Hmm.
And I did that a little bit, and then, of course, I was involved in a lot of high school sports, and so he didn't really have a lot of time to do something like that. But as soon as I got married, I belonged to Muskegon Pistol and Rifle Club, which they had an indoor league. Really enjoyed it. Got a pistol coach there, Mr. Dave Johnson. And then my wife came and did and participated in it. So we actually shot Pistol League up until our first son was born, um, every winter, and it was on Friday night, so it was kind of like a date night thing. You'd travel someplace and you'd shoot against another team. It was super fun. You'd meet a bunch of people. You'd get some dinner. But I remember Kathy. I mean, she was probably well. My oldest son was born in March, so we finished a pistol league and had a son. Kind of didn't do much with guns besides just plinking in the backyard. And then that dork Daryl, that's on the line here with us, he says, "Hey, I got this friend Arnie, and we're gonna shoot." And I still have videos of this that I've posted before when I did have social media. We go up to this blistering cold day behind Arnie's house. Only thing you can see on us is our eyeballs because it's so cold. And from there, it just kind of snowballed. When
Nice. I like the snow joke there with the cold and
Yes,
yeah, snowball.
well, it was cold and yeah, all of that. But that's where liberty and freedom kind of came from.
It's
All
some
that
of the
stuff.
worst video footage you'll ever see in your
Yes,
life.
it
It's
was. It
taken
was.
from like an old Nokia cell phone.
Oh man.
It was so bad. And then even our shooting, we're just like, oh
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
yeah.
No,
We're
not
just
the
like
quality of
miss,
the
miss,
footage.
miss, hit, yeah. And now the stuff that we did there, just screwing around behind Arnie's house before all of this happened, um, man, we'd how do I say that nicely? We'd conquer that little course. It wouldn't even phase us, So
That I did not realize that you mentioned the whole like couples like shooting thing. I didn't realize that kind of thing existed. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. And so I guess you would say that the Wolverine 5K is an evolution of that. Double the team and double the challenges, right?
yeah. The funny part about it is back in Bullseye, that was kind of a man's sport, and to have women on your team was almost kind of taboo. There was
Interesting.
actually some clubs back in the day that didn't allow women in them.
Really?
Really?
And
Wow.
for our and of course, we had Kathy and a lady named Celeste LaForest,
Oh,
and they would pick these guys off almost every night. Not the top shooters, but they were competitive, and I think it pissed them off. So it was kind of fun.
that's funny. That's awesome.
Yep.
One of the things that we talk about a lot in like culture in general is surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. So I like to say that when I went to recruit a Wolverine 5K team, I got people that were better than myself. So I appreciate you guys going along this journey. And honestly, I can't. I knew that we had to fill up the last couple slots. Like there was literally nobody else that I even had in my mind to do this. And Tyler and I even like bounced it around. We're like, who would even qualify for something like this? And we had a really hard time like figuring out people from like the skill sets perspective, from the
Yeah.
dedication perspective, and from like the willingness to work on a team perspective,
Mhm.
right? Because you're working through a lot of like difficult challenges that and you're holding guns while you're doing it, so
Mm,
you need people that are going to be able to have a cool head while it's all going on, right?
And it's
So
it's hard to talk about somebody on the team being better than the other ones because we all have our strong suits. It's such a dis they have the skills that you need to do the Wolverine 5K are very diverse, and
that's
having
true.
people with different skill sets is mandatory.
yeah, and I would say that of an event like this, I mean, I know we mentioned the Super Bowl earlier, but this is really like this and events like this are really the Super Bowl of shooting events. There's
Mm,
not a lot out there that's a lot more difficult, and I think we mentioned this before. There's things like the Mammoth Sniper Challenge that would probably up this from a like perseverance and time and like maybe even skill level. But I would say that this offers a lot of things that are outside of your normal shooting skill sets. And we talked a lot about this in the past where you have to have the ability to shoot on the move, navigate between or it's like navigate through a course, understand the course of fire, do wild like dexterous related items. I think that's a word. Is that a word, Tyler? Dexterous?
sounds
I don't
good, man.
Dexterous?
Sometimes you just have to say things with confidence, and people believe that. It's like, yeah,
And they
that's work.
they just go with it, or they call you out on the internet about it,
Yeah,
and then we create a word and get comments on the
word.
podcast.
No,
Well, you're not going to have open comments on this, are you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, the internet itself is an open comment, so anybody can post anything anywhere they want. Plus, we'll
so
probably
we have
have all of 10 viewers or
so
listeners.
yeah.
So
Well, I mean, we have 4 right here.
that's
Exactly.
true. That's
Mhm.
true. That is actually our plan, is to get more and more guests on. So that every time we bring more guests on, we'll add like 2 or 3 listeners at a time.
Exactly. We'll get 4 more for the next one. Boom, we just doubled our viewership.
Um, Kind of before we kind of dive into the event itself, I know we talked a lot about in the past couple episodes about preparing for the Wolverine 5K, but that was both Tyler and I's perspective. For you, for Daryl and Brent, what were the things that you specifically focused on as an individual, like prior to this event, knowing that you had to improve?
For me, it was my stamina. I was, you know, we all did the ruck challenge thing in March, and what I didn't do, I completed that challenge and was very happy with what I did there. But then it ended, and then 2 months later, we did the Wolverine 5K, and I should have kept going with my rucking because it the yeah, the ruck part of the Wolverine 5K last year was very tough for me.
Yeah, I think it was rough for all of us. I think it was specifically the Daryl Hill.
Yeah.
Aptly named.
Would you like to talk about the Daryl Hill?
Yes.
We'll get there.
Oh, come on.
Oh, well, come on. We'll get there. And I actually have some questions around the Daryl Hill specifically when we kind of get
Of
there.
course he has questions.
S- s-
We're going off script, guys.
right. No, no, no. You're good.
This goes to show. This is proving everyone I do not have an outline, so I have no idea where we're going with this.
Yeah, that's
Perfect.
funny. I literally texted Tyler just like 5 minutes ago and said, "Hey, you can feel free to ask questions too," because I realized that I did not let him know in advance that this is not just my questions we have, and obviously Daryl and Brent can ask questions too.
Sure.
But anyway, so what kind of things did you do, Brent, to prepare, kind of as an individual prior to
So
the event?
I use this for a really good excuse. I this was you guys asking me to be part of this was a little bit more than um, it meant a little bit more to me than maybe the rest of you guys did from the standpoint. I struggle with weight, and um, I have a replaced knee that
Mhm.
really gives me crap. And I just figured out that, I mean, there's just no excuses. And I have literally had a bad knee for 38 years, well, senior year of high school.
Oh
And
wow.
yeah, so it's been rough. I've had 8 knee surgeries, 2 reconstructions, and a replacement. Um, I used that to say, hey, I'm going to start slow. I started rucking every day. Ended up, um, boy, there was. I have a list of it somewhere about how many kilometers I went.
Yeah,
Um, got back in the gym where I needed to be, and I felt good and strong and capable at the Wolverine. So
that's awesome.
um, same thing, like Daryl says, stamina, and you just got to keep plugging away at it. But I have to start really small. It's a 3K ruck, every morning, which we're doing right now, but the snow is killing us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like saying back to the knee thing, the hard part is if you walk on a hard surface like a road, if you slip, there's a month before I'm back to being able to do something because of just tweaking a knee, you know. So,
Yeah,
but
there is something to be said that not going out and doing that like 3K, just to, because I damaged my knee pretty bad, like in either 2020 or 2019, and it's finally healed at this point. But I regret going out, and when I was out there, I was like, this is a dumb idea, and I shouldn't be here. And
uh-huh,
now instead of like moving myself forward like a normal, you know, ruck would have been, I end up setting myself back by a lot. And like people know as you get a little older, it takes a little bit longer to recover back into that shape that you once were before.
sure.
So yeah,
Well, I like I'm saying, it got me there. So it was a little life changing thing when you guys said, "Hey, we're going to do this," and of course, you know, dragging a longtime friend like Daryl along with me, and push each other, and check up on each other. It was a good thing. It was a
Yeah.
super good thing, and I'm gonna like I told him, I said, get ready, man. So when we retire, we're gonna have like all kinds of cool tactical athlete things to do.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where like if you keep up on it, and I always know that there's some guys that are older that do this thing. And I'm like, man, if I'm that age and I'm still doing the Wolverine 5K, I'm gonna feel pretty good about myself.
Yep.
But obviously continue to do it now as I am a little bit younger and more capable. That would, I guess, apply for all of us, except for Tyler, who's super young and invincible and will be around forever, living to 120.
Yeah, bro. I got another 100 years or 94.
I was gonna say,
Three,
man, boy,
three on
your
the
math
seven.
is bad.
I'm Asian, bro. I should be good at this stuff. And this is why I didn't get scholarships, man.
I
Why?
thought
Because
you
you're
guys just
Asian?
naturally got them
What? What did you
because
say? Phil?
I was just saying I thought that like when you like graduated from high school, there were people like lined up at the door to give you scholarships to be a
No.
doctor.
Dude, there was like a whole lawsuit of because Asians were discriminated against because they weren't getting scholarships. Moving on from
So podcast number 7 on the acceptable accuracy: why Tyler did not get a doctorate
that. Because I found
they
or his
asked him
school.
PhD,
what
his MD.
they asked him what touchstone was, and he didn't know.
He didn't know.
There we go. So I guess kind of back on topic. So you guys talked about the importance of fitness. Since we're all planning on doing the Wolverine 5K this coming summer, what are you guys doing now to keep your fitness up? Or are you? Or what are your plans for that?
I am
Yeah.
not doing anything at the moment. I
Okay.
hit the gym a couple of times this winter, but I'm not doing a whole lot right now. Partly because of time, and partly
Of
because
course.
I'm afraid if I start too early, I'm going to do what I did last year, and I'm going to stop before we get there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not good.
Hey, that's an
Yeah.
honest answer. I'll take that for sure. What about you? What about actually, Philip? What about you, man?
Yeah.
So I okay. So
Because I
the
know you've done a couple of things recently.
yeah, the guy that runs the Wolverine 5K and through the company that he owns and the range that he owns, MTC, he'll post things into social media about things he's adding to the Wolverine 5K. So he typically is very one of those deliberate type of people where he's like, I'm going to post a thing and this is going to happen. And that typically does come true.
Yep.
So he announced this year that there's a lot more items around like physicality of like lifting yourself up over barriers and like throwing sandbags over barriers and throwing under. I saw there's a photo of a rope that he posted recently, so there's going to be something with that. So I specifically for the Wolverine 5K purchased a pull up and a dip bar just so I can start working on those upper body exercises needed to be able to do pulling up and pushing up. So that is what I've been working on. Unfortunately, work is absolutely killing me right now. I haven't had a ton of chance to work with that, but I just switched, not to get off subject, but I just switched jobs. So there's a lot of onboarding that should end or at least slow down here soon. And hoping to really start focusing on that stuff because there's things you can do inside while it's cold, right?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah. 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 Tyler, what about you, man? You at the gym or what?
Yeah, so recently so I'm going back to 4 days a week of working out. I've been tracking my calories again. I'm probably going for about the 25 to 2700 calories a day. So my goal is to kind of get back down to around the 185-pound range. I'm at about 210 and I've been doing ice baths every morning.
Ugh.
So so I would wake up, do an ice bath for 2 to 3 minutes, then I would work out and then do a protein smoothie and then just go on with my day. So that's pretty much what I've been doing.
Yesterday, or a couple days ago, when you and I were talking about this ice bath thing, and I want to jump on this immediately. Where are you getting all this ice from, Tyler? Are you literally going outside and like shoveling snow in your
No.
bathtub?
So when it comes to ice baths, so scientifically, I do not believe there's that much physical benefits to an ice bath. I do it more for the mental aspect of it and for the mental pros of it. All benefits. All you need is 60 degrees of water. So right now, because it's so cold outside, all I need to do is fill up my bathtub, and I have a food thermometer, and it sets it at 57 degrees.
Oh,
So,
no kidding.
so it's an ice bath in the beneficial sense, but it's not like a bunch of ice.
So it's like when I go to Chick-fil-A and I order my
Oh,
lemonade
jeez.
and I check light ice on the order. Is that kind of how this is like, Tyler?
Sure, it's a light ice bath. If that floats your boat, Philip.
Okay,
Oh
so
my
what I got
God.
out of that is I need to go order a lemonade with light ice. Okay, cool.
Sure,
Well,
if it fits your macros, Philip.
well, Joe Rogan's a big ice bather, and he's seen some results from that as far as
Yep.
his
Yes.
muscle twitch and things like that. So it's kind of cool. But
Oh
no,
yeah, and he'll also talk about the mental aspect of it as well.
yes,
Because for me, I'll admit I struggle at times to go to the gym in the morning, but once I get in that ice bath, I feel like I'm ready to take on the world. I'm like refreshed. I feel like I don't need my morning coffee anymore. I'm like I'm just ready to go. Even yes, since I don't work out on Wednesdays because for those who don't know, I am a pastor, so Wednesdays are my busy days with work and church. So I'm like I choose after my rest days. I did an ice bath. I'm like man, it just felt kind of empty that I didn't work out.
ah,
So it's kind of like a ritual now at this point.
yeah. Well, the nice thing about what I've got going on is Kathy and I just made a move to basically a golf course. Don't
That's
ask.
awesome.
Don't. No, it's not awesome at all. But
Brent loves golf, by the
I
way.
hate golf so much.
What? Dude, that is awesome.
So a
Oh,
waste
whatever.
of a good
Anyway,
rifle range.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly. That's see, Daryl's right on the point.
What is it we
Anyway,
say that long range shooting is like golf, but for real men?
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
we just alienated the two listeners that were listening to us
Okay.
now.
Well, this particular house, all of Kathy's family lives in this area, so it's really cool. We've got 800 acres of national forest behind us, so I don't live
Oh,
on the golf course. I live in the subdivision that's part of the golf course. Of course, the golf course has all these great trails, paths through it. So we're I want to say rucking, but I don't have any weight on yet. But so we're hiking, walking, whatever you want to call it, through those trails. And now that I have this, I would let's call it larger house. I have my own gym at my house now, so I don't have to go to Planet Fitness. So it's kind of cool.
my man.
Yeah.
I
And
know
my son is a huge workout guy. He's here right now. He's got squat racks and plates and bungees. Oh my gosh, it's so cool.
Yep,
Dang.
I get that. That was something that I was very thankful for on my end because I got my own home gym last year, and I feel like that was a huge change for me. That was helpful. So
Yeah.
especially in the winter.
It's weird though, Tyler. Do you find that because it's at home and you don't, if you do have to go to the gym in the morning, you put your gear on and you get in the car, it's like, okay, there's no turning back now
True.
because I got to go do this and then I got to get home, get a shower, and I got to go to work. Um, the home gym, every once in a while, you're kind of like, I'll cut it short. I'm like, no, you won't.
Mhm.
Keep going.
Yep.
So,
It's true. Well, that's why I forgot his name, but the Atomic Habits guy, James Clear, where he talks about sometimes all you need to do is just tell yourself, you know what, I'm gonna get changed for the gym, or I'll drive to the gym, I'll do this, and then if I get to the gym and I don't want to go to the gym, that's fine. But 9 times out of 10, you're like, I'm ready here, I'll just do it.
yep,
So for me, when I don't feel like it, that's why I've been doing the ice baths because that'll help me. Is like once I get into it, it hits me. But other times, I just get changed and I'll admit one time I laid on my bench for like 15 minutes and I'm like, all right, work out. I'll admit it.
Were you doom scrolling, Tyler?
No, I just laid there for 15 minutes. I'm like, all right, I need to work out.
yep,
You're just stretching, right? Prolonged stretching.
Sure.
yeah.
But
And
what's
the other
Philip?
pulling it back in here, the other aspect of that is for me is dry fire.
Oh,
I
yeah.
spend off season. I spend a lot of time. I try to, but I have a lot of time scheduled.
Hmm.
Usually around 14 hours a week of dry fire stuff, and we've got both Daryl and I've got some fantastic tools that help us with that. With the Blackbeard for our ARs and Cool
Hmm.
Fire trainers for our both our competition guns, and it's nice. It's really
That's
is
awesome.
nice.
So for the naysayers of dry fire, why are you a dry fire advocate?
for me, like I'm saying, 3, 4. I don't even know how long ago it was. Once again, Daryl and I got into cahoots. We're sitting on a beach in Cozumel, going with our newly acquired books from Mike Seeklander, and said, "All right, we're going to set this up. We're going to give this a try." And for me, it was a game changer that next year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my grip, my stance, my ability to think through things. I could tell my very first match um, that it was going to do something for me, and it continues to do stuff for me. So
Is is Cahoots a chain of bars that you guys go to?
cahoots. You don't.
I know,
Well, when we're in
I know what it means.
when we're in
This,
when we're in Cozumel, we don't have to go to a bar. It comes to us, brother.
It's a
yeah.
yeah.
Um, all right. So just real quick, I'm gonna kind of recap like what the Wolverine 5K is in case somebody didn't catch the previous couple episodes. But it is what they call a tactical adventure race where you have a 5K that is typically a ruck every other year for the past 4 years now. They've also introduced a 5K canoe, which is what we had this past year. So the year coming up, we will not have a canoe, but the ruck itself also includes orienteering and points of like intelligence, where you're gathering intelligence. What do they call those points of
Waypoints.
waypoints? Thank you. I wanted to call them points of interest, but that
Yeah.
sounds like I'm playing a video game and I need to go up to the thing and press A. Um, but but
Oh, jeez.
and then there's also courses of fire that are along with the match. And this past year, I think were there 10 courses of
10.
fire. I think it was.
10.
Yep.
Yep.
And that varies. Typically, it's anywhere I think between 8 and 10 courses of fire. The courses of fire include pistol, carbine, and a long range rifle. You can do a combination of potentially all of those on a single stage or a single one of them on a stage, which we had a bit of this year. Within this setup, because it is you can switch between pistol and carbine, for example. You have to have gear that holds your pistol and your rifle to your body so they don't end up in a place you don't want them, like the ground, right? So you need like a level 2 holster, typically level 2, level 3, the sling for your rifle, right? To be able to keep that with you at all times. In addition, there are two different divisions. There's what we call like the standard division, I think is what it's called, or like there's another what's the term they use?
Novice.
Yeah, it's like a
I thought it was novice.
yeah,
No,
it's not amateur either. It's I don't know.
recreational.
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 Yes. There's recreational and then there's hardcore. Recreational, the only requirement for that is when you're on the ruck, 25 pounds on your back. The rest of the time, you're obviously just having the equipment that you need to complete the course of fire. So, pistol, rifle, long range rifle.
And electronics.
Yes, and radio as well. And then for hardcore, on the ruck, you're required to have 45 pounds with you at all times. However, you want to do that, they kind of changed recently, is up to you. Most people typically run either the weight in the back in a backpack or a backpack with a combination of body armor. But then during the course of fire, you have to have body armor on you weighing without anything in it. So no water, magazines, or anything. It has to be 14 pounds. So that the idea is to add a little bit more challenge to the event. Now, the way I look at it was this is an opportunity. And I actually, in Claire, the guy that runs this, actually posts this on social media a lot. And he's former military, and he'll say this is a chance for you to test your SHTF gear. And the reason we get away with doing this is because this does based on the movie Red Dawn. And if you're familiar with the original movie Red Dawn, it was based on a Russian invasion with students at a school kind of standing up to them and getting the gear that they had to fight against the communist Russian invasion. So a lot of stages have names and such around that. Did I miss anything?
Not really. Besides, there's always one stage that makes your life bad.
Hmm.
That
Oh
log
yes,
stage.
there is a physicality. There's always physicality in
Yep.
this match. Most stages will either have they're always shooting, but they'll have like something where you'll be doing some kind of skill, as lock picking, or like what was the word I used earlier, Tyler?
I have no idea.
Dexterous,
Sure. I
dexterous. I
don't like it. Ambidextrous. Oh, so I guess it is a word.
is dexterous a word? Did you look it up?
No, I'm thinking
If so,
because ambidextrous.
right.
So because
It's skills that require dexterity. Let's just leave it at that. Or there is a bunch.
ambi is a prefix, so that
Right.
means dexterous actually is a word. Logically,
Yeah, I guess.
you're welcome. Fine, I'm gonna look it up because I have a computer in front of me. Thanks for that.
Anyway, so while he's looking that up,
Literally a
so
word.
there's either like a skill that requires dexterity, like lockpicking or something like that, or there is a skill that requires physicality. Think of like flipping tires, or all of our favorite stage of holding a log over your head while you have a gas mask on.
Did we flip tires this year?
We
Yep.
did,
Yes, we did.
because I remember saying like I was thankful that you had showed us how to flip tires.
Huh.
Yeah, it was the one where there was 4 different physical challenges. We just kept running through them, and there was shooting in between.
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
Carry the cans, the
And we
sled,
finished
the
a
bag,
minute and a half early.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, no kidding.
All right. So what I want to kind of do is, number one, I want to give you guys really an opportunity to kind of like go through like our time. And I figure the best way to do that is to do it chronologically. So kind of starting off like the night before. So the range MTC is up north in northern Michigan, and it's like what is it, Tyler, from us? Like an hour and a half from us.
I mean, technically, it's more central Michigan.
Okay, well, fine, but
It's
everything is north
I
of us.
know this is completely off topic, but I saw like a meme where it was like, it's like, this is Grand Rapids. This is up north to Grand Rapids, people. This is actual up north. This is the UP. It's like, so I know for us it's up north, but really it's central Michigan. So yeah, it's an hour and a half northeast of us. It's like 30 minutes east of Cadillac.
And then
So
Brent and Deryl, it's like what, an hour and some change from you guys as well.
2 hours.
Oh, really? Dang.
Yep.
Oh, wow. All right. So the night before, kind of walk me through like what we kind of did prior night before we really get into the race. We don't spend a lot of time in this just because I know people want to get into the meat and taters of the episode.
we
Well,
went to Subway.
what we tried to do was to go up the afternoon before and look at the stages, because somebody told us that, I won't say who, but somebody told us that
It was
that
Tyler.
was okay to do.
His name
And-
rhymes with Bill.
Tyler doesn't rhyme with Bill. What the heck?
And we were severely scolded for trying to do this.
Yeah.
Well, and it's weird because in the years past, we were always like arrive and we'd like help set up the stages. So I was like, it was weird. But hey, I understand why they do it. Competitive equity and all that stuff.
Sure. But yes. Are you here to work? No. Get out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically the way that went.
Yes, I'm here to work.
So yeah, other than that, yeah, we looked at the range. I had been there before, kind of knew a little bit about how it was laid out, and then kind of we went up and looked at the river, because there was the canoeing portion of it. So we knew a little bit what to expect there. And then we went and checked into the luxurious accommodations that Brent found for us.
Yeah, I honestly, when you guys like came up with that spot, I could not believe there was such a luxury in Lake City, Michigan.
Yeah.
I thought it was wonderful.
It was.
Did the bellhop greet you by name when you guys showed up?
Dude, we showed up and there was nobody there. So we called the number and she goes, "Oh, yeah, Brent, we're all set up for you and Daryl. Just the cabin's open, the key's hanging on the inside." That's how we got in there.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But it's perfect because it's people who just trust people, and that's
Yep.
you can't.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember we ended up hanging out and like basically working on our lock picking because we knew that there was gonna be lock picking that year, so we did a lot of that.
Sitting
And then we
around
went
the
to
fire.
Subway, and Tyler was reminded why he wants children at Subway.
Dude, those
What?
kids. Oh my goodness. No. Oh. Don't you guys remember? There was like that.
I want a
Yes,
cookie. I want a cookie,
I do.
Tyler.
And like the mom's like, "You will eat what I feed you, child."
Yep.
I forgot about that.
And
Wow.
it didn't
Oh,
phase Daryl and I because we've got kids.
Yeah.
I blocked that out myself. But
Right?
You're welcome for bringing that stuff back up.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'm like, wow.
I think
Okay.
that's the only reason I wanted to talk about the day before was just because with the craziness of like the kid was so upset about his mom like making him eat a sub. Thought it was hilarious. Yeah, so anyways, we ended up crashing that evening and then waking up the next morning. You guys, we were at a cabin that was on site, and then Brent and Daryl were at a cabin that was off site. So ended up gathering up the next morning, and Brent and Daryl, always being prepared, came up with like a table and a wagon and all the stuff that we didn't think of because we're young and stupid. And when I
Yeah.
say we, I mean myself.
No, me too. Thanks, Brent, for dragging our rifles everywhere.
It was great. I'm glad we had that. But man, was that thing heavy. Remember going through that sand?
oh yeah,
Yes, we were
Took like
stuck.
oh
And
yeah.
I
yeah.
remember like trying to run to get past because we knew we only had like 5 minutes left or 10 minutes left to get to the bus.
Oh yeah.
That was rough. But
Um,
I guess so. The day before the event, how did you guys feel? Like, were you guys nervous, excited? What was that like?
I was
Considering this was
excited.
your first 5K
Kind of
experience.
10% nervous, 90% excited, or 10% excited, 90% nervous. I don't know, something like that.
Something
Mhm.
But
like that.
it was it
No,
was definitely something that we looked forward to for such a long time, and then when we were there, the time had come, and it was like, man, am I really going to be able to do this?
Yeah.
yes.
do you feel like it is truly like a culmination of like I wouldn't say a year's worth of work, but there's a lot to putting your kit together and then the physical preparedness as well,
Oh
right? And
yeah,
the shooting preparedness.
yes, yep.
Yeah.
And like saying it's a great place to shake your gear out for reals.
Mhm.
You're
Yeah,
gonna
because
get it dirty, sweaty, nasty. Yep.
hmm yeah, because for me, when I did the Wolverine 5K, I basically bought the gear for it. Like this was all gear that I already kind of was eyeballing, and because I was doing the event, I was like, you know what, now's the time for me to get it. How long did you guys have your gear before this event?
Well, uh, go ahead, Brent. Oh,
I had body armor and AR and stuff, but there wasn't a lot that I had to get. But I did learn that, and obviously because of Tyler and Daryl, um, shortly after that, actually it came ahead of time, and I could
That's
have put it
right.
together, but I went to the HRT stuff, day and night difference from the gear that I was running before. So
the only thing that I carried on me during the 5K that I did not order for the 5K were the plates. Everything else was pretty much new because I getting ready for the Wolverine 5K, I found out the equipment that I had was not going to work.
Gotcha.
The the plate carrier I had was not sized well for me.
Mhm.
When I tried to ruck with it, it was killing me.
it was too long, wasn't it?
It was way too big for me. I'm a little on the short side, so just did not work. It rubbed me raw badly in a lot of spots. Um, the level 2 holster that I had was for a gun that I didn't want to use for the pistol part of it, so I had to get another one of those. And
Mhm.
so yeah.
Which is funny because I remember that first day when all of us showed up in our gear to train, and like Daryl, I just looked at you, Daryl. I kind of like looked up and down. I'm like, bro, we're twins.
Brothers from another mother.
We literally have
Yeah.
the
Yep.
exact same carrier, the
Yep.
same belt, and I'm like, yeah, we
Yep.
listen to the same people. Got it.
Yeah, the
Yep.
same
It's a
same style
it's a good
holster.
thing you're left-handed, or we'd get them mixed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like looking in a mirror, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
And it's funny because both Tyler and Daryl are, you guys are probably roughly the same height, so that's why it
Close, yeah.
was pretty hilarious. And then Brent and I were the outliers.
Yeah.
So now I feel like I need to purchase like a black plate carrier and stuff just so that Brent and I can be matchy as well.
Didn't you just
Whatever, old real Harold.
Oh, one thing I completely forgot to mention is team cohesion is always kind of a big deal, and something I really appreciate that Brent did for us this year that we'd never done in the past, and we had talked about in advance. But Brent actually made us some Velcro patches with our
Mhm.
team name on it, and we haven't talked about this yet. I don't think we've ever talked about our team name.
Yeah,
Um,
I hear.
so, Brent, you want to kind of talk about like the evolution of that team name and the patches that were probably the most important piece of gear we had all day?
Yeah, jeez. Um,
We're all matching
well,
that day too.
That's
well,
true. We all
kind
wearing
of,
the same
yeah.
t-shirt.
And I tried really hard to, like I said, we got two different styles. So there was one that was earth tones, and then one that was black.
Mhm.
But yeah, and the credit really has to go to you, Phil, on this one because of the whoever made the suggestions to be the Calumet dropouts, i.e., the kids from the high school that went and kicked the Russians' butts. Um, it was a great name, and like saying when that first popped up, I'm like, yeah, we got to
Well,
do that.
it was funny because I think the reason I came up was it with it. So if we did really horrible on the Wolverine 5K, that we would have an excuse because we were the dropouts.
Yeah, there you go.
Definitely, and yeah,
Tyler's over in the corner being like the mathematician and the successful student that he is, and he's like, "I hate this name. This is the most cringeworthy name.
I didn't think so,
I
man.
will never drop out of anything." And I'm over here like, "This is my excuse."
Yeah, there
But
you
it's
go.
I guess that's the funny part of that. That's kind of the oxymoron, I guess you'd call it. So they dropped out of school to fight for freedom. Okay,
Yeah,
so,
no, that's true.
and they didn't have a choice about dropping out of school. So
Right.
Yeah, they were pretty much run out of the school. They didn't drop out.
you're shot out of the school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna make a confession. I still have not seen the movie, so I have
Are
no
you?
Oh
idea.
my gosh. Okay, I really hope that he
Tyler.
won't, but I hope Clara does not listen to this podcast because we will not get our team accepted for next year.
He knows. I told him. He's like, "Yeah, you're dropped." He's like, "I'm kidding, man."
As long as you didn't tell me you watched the modern remake of it, then you'll be all right.
Yeah. We caught a lot of cool. Well, I guess people caught on to what that name was.
Oh yeah, it was well received.
Yeah, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, if you're gonna do it, go full into it.
Yeah, I got more
Um,
stickers coming too, by the way.
that's
My
awesome.
man.
I gotta get some acceptable accuracy podcast.
There you go.
Like Velcro done. I've got the logo done and everything, so we'll see. I gotta get that made up. I'll talk to you after this one, Brandon. Get some
It's
information on
super
that.
easy. So
All right, let's kind of step into the match itself. I feel like we've been teasing this match for the past like 2 episodes, and then like a run up to this match. So, if you are listening, this is the time to sit down with that meat and potatoes, get your wine or your beer out or whatever it is that you drink, and let's get into it. So again, the match is made up of the ruck, and then of course this year with the canoe, and then the shooting stages. In order to like keep the match running really well, because they've been doing this for quite a few years now, they actually split up the time at which people leave for their canoe in this case to kick it off, and when they can start shooting. So if you are in the hardcore division, that is the only way that you have the ability to compete for like first place or second place or third place. I think that they recognize the top three teams, as well as the top individuals as well. So the goal has always been around getting the hardcore teams with their stuff done first, because they want to make sure that the competitive, like, I don't say equity, but the competitive equality is there, right? You get equal opportunity to complete all the stages in time. So in our case, we actually started off shooting first, and we had a time we knew when we were going to kick off. So we knew that we had to be done shooting by this time period in order to catch the bus, in order to get out to the canoe
I believe it was 11:20.
kickoff. That's impressive that you remember that, because I can't remember like what I ate yesterday. So it was
Dude, I forgot.
probably, I do remember I drank though.
Chick-fil-A.
It was a
Chick-fil-A,
yes, it was
no
a
punch,
lemonade from Chick Fil
light
A
ice.
with light
Dude,
ice.
we had Taco Bell yesterday.
Oh gosh.
Was that yesterday or was it a couple days ago?
That was yesterday.
Okay, back to the shooting.
Episode 9, Taco Bell. Okay.
Taco Bell sponsor us. Just kidding.
That'll never happen.
Yeah, you never know.
Diet by Taco Bell. All right.
Yeah,
So if you guys remember, there was somebody, and I think it was Brent or Daryl, or maybe the both of you, who had this fantastic idea of like kicking us off. Do you guys remember like our plan of attack to get done by the end of the day?
Well, the big problem with is that those yahoos, when they did their stage or their their morning brief, said, "Well, we got 10 stages and this and that. A lot of you guys won't get through it." Okay, game on. That's how all of us felt
Challenge
about it.
accepted.
oh yeah.
Exactly.
He basically
And,
said no one was going to finish.
well, okay,
I know, right? We're like, yeah, no, we're gonna finish.
we're going. So all of us worked way too hard and to not get after this. So we did.
Yeah, and I would agree that like we talked a lot about the shooting, the physicality, the items that involve dexterity, time management, day of, key,
Yep.
and I
Key.
think we nailed that for sure.
Hmm.
And we'll kind of get into that as we progress through the conversation. But do you guys remember what stage we started on?
Lock,
Handcuffs.
bro.
Oh, that's right, because
Yep.
we were practicing and nobody was in line. I think we were the
Nope.
first persons in line for that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm going to have Brent, if you don't mind, kind of walking us through that stage, and I am going to ask you specifically because then we can all comment about how awesome that you did on that stage and saved our bacon. Will
Mm.
you kind of walk us through that stage? Because
Well,
this is one of the more interesting stages.
it was interesting. So we got to the stage, and there was a table there with a chain across it, and you were double handcuffed to it, i.e., both your hands. We kind of thought it was only going to be one. There was bobby pins on the brand new bobby pins on the table. You had to fashion the bobby pin and unlock your handcuffs. We're all trying to do it at the same time. And of course, the chain's taut. We finally figure out, hey, let somebody have the slack.
Mhm.
Was it Tyler? You were with me, weren't you?
Yep.
Yeah, it was. I literally gave up, and I'm like, you know what, Brent, just do it. Take it,
Yep.
bro. I can't do
And it
this
was
anymore.
literally seconds after he gave me that slack. Pop, out she came.
Yep.
Um, and in this particular stage, as Phil asked me to talk about, as soon as I was free, I was able to throw an axe at the guard, a fake guard that was made out of wood. So
Yeah, got to
throwing
clarify
It
that.
was a real communist, so I don't think anybody would care about
maybe not. But
that.
so you throw this axe. Once I hit that.
Did you stick it on your first throw
Oh
or
yeah,
second throw?
yep,
That's
yep.
impressive.
First throw. Which credit to South Kent Sportsman's Club for have axe throwing.
Yeah.
um, anyway, so there was keys there, so I grabbed the keys, put them on the table. You guys uncuffed, and then we moved on to the second part of that challenge. So
Yeah, the second part, I remember really clearly. So then obviously that was the first part of the stage, right? So then we ran up to the the initial area. I think where our pistols were they staged on top of the lockers?
They
the
were.
yep,
Okay. So so we want to step us through kind of like what we did from there. Other
I'll
things I
keep
can.
I'll
I
keep
How's it?
going if
don't.
you guys.
You're in
Yeah,
the
keep going,
middle of
Brent.
it, Bill. Just finish.
Yep.
Yep, we just
Did we? No, go ahead.
what's that, Daryl?
I don't remember.
We so the pistols were staged there. They were in unloaded. We loaded pistol.
Mm-hmm.
We had to produce. We had to shoot a couple of targets, show that pistol clear, holster that pistol. Then we had to pick the lock on a foot locker, a padlock, to open that up where we had our ARs. They were in field strip, I guess is what they call that. So
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah, so not too bad. You needed to assemble the rifle, load the rifle, and then complete the shooting skills, which I thought was like 3 targets each or something like that. It was easy peasy with our rifles.
Yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
like 3 on one side for pistol, 3 on the other side for pistol, if I
That
remember
is correct,
correctly.
Phil. Yep, because
Yep.
we
Sounds about right.
and and the
Yeah.
and I'll say this about this because Phil was, well, all of us were actually doing it, but usually it seemed like Phil got to him first. When Claire would kick those stages out, we build them and practice them. You guys, I mean, like we spent 2 or 3 times practicing that lockpick,
Mhm.
assemble your rifle, shoot thing at our range, and it did help.
Yeah, I would agree with that because we actually realized, and obviously when you're cleaning your rifle, it's a different. You're not under the clock, right? I mean, maybe some people do, former military, maybe clean rifle. Like, how fast can you clean it? It's like every war movie they always show that.
Starhead.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. But one thing you don't realize is that, like, you have to make sure that, like, the bolt is pulled out of the carrier properly before you reinsert
Yes.
your bolt carrier group into the upper, otherwise you're gonna have a bad day.
Mhm.
So um, that was something that was really important. Those small things that you practice that shave off those precious few seconds off the clock. So I'm glad that you called that out because I forgot about that. I forgot that we had some challenges with that initially on the clock when we were practicing.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
how did your lock go, Tyler?
I'm still a little bitter about that one. For the life of me, I could not pick my lock, and yet for somebody else, it was basically already unlocked for him.
I literally raked my lock with the tool that we have, and it opened up immediately with just a very little bit of attention on it. But who unlocked your lock for you though, Tyler?
Someone's name who rhymes with Bill.
Tyler doesn't ride with Bill.
Neither does Brent.
I did call for help. I'm like, I need help. So Philip did come and unlocked my padlock for me, and I was able to get my final shots in, thankfully. So, and that's why it is a team, just like what Daryl said at the beginning about the importance of multiple skills and working as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yes,
is truly a
sir.
team event, and it's interesting. The thought I had on this one was, I knew that you were having difficulties, and I had got mine unlocked. I'd got my rifle assembled, and I was about to shoot. I think when you called out for help, and then it dawned on me that, like, I want to help you, but then we also need to get points to the board. So I
Yep.
cleared all my targets before, because I want to make sure we beat the clock
Yep.
before I helped you unlock yours, knowing that you are extremely fast at getting stuff done. So as soon as we got you open, you'd be good to go, and it does, and it worked out well.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Tyler can assemble a rifle and shoot quickly. There's no
Yep.
doubt.
Unlocking a padlock, not so much.
Well,
It's because you never do anything below board. You're always above board, Tyler. You don't ever do anything nefarious like lockpicking.
Yeah, definitely.
nefarious.
Even though
Stop.
we had a situation where I needed to pick a lock and that didn't work out because someone didn't bring
At
his
the
lock.
church, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
Tyler's
Yeah,
lockpicking at the church.
there was the one door in the church I do not have a key for, and I'm like, Phil, do you have your lockpick set? He's like, no. I'm like, gee, thanks.
Because I don't carry it with me.
I
Why
do.
not?
Don't know. I'm not sure if I even know where it is, to be honest. It's
Oh
probably
my god.
buried in my gear somewhere.
I have mine in my backpack, you guys. No lie.
I have
See,
mine in my
exactly,
truck.
my man, prepared.
It might be
The
where
one
mine is.
time I needed it, it was locked in my truck.
Oh,
No, no.
that's ironic right there. All right, so I guess kind of moving on. So I guess my question is, so for Daryl, for the Wolverine 5K, what was your favorite stage to do,
My favorite stage.
or something that was memorable, or a memorable stage?
It was the long range stuff.
Well, tell us
The
about
one.
that
So yeah, Tyler's like,
Okay.
we're skipping ahead. We're not going to go through every single stage.
Yeah. All right. So on this particular stage, we were all in the back of a pickup with our gear, and then so we had to dismount the pickup. Three team members who were Brent, Phil, and Tyler needed to post up guard and start engaging targets while dragging a wounded person
one. Hmm.
from like different point. There's barrels set up. While they were doing that, while they were providing cover fire for me, I was running up the hill to the watchtower basically with my 308. Thank you.
Yeah.
So when they were clear, I could start engaging the targets farther out. The
Yep.
first of which was a pound of tannerite, which is a personal favorite of mine.
I remember all day long you'd like hear boom,
Yeah.
Yep.
boom, like
Yeah.
from the course of fire as
And
people
he
would get
nailed
that
that,
first shot
man.
off.
So
Yeah. I think it was your first
first
single
shot.
shot. Like, I think it was a
Fir-
cold bore shot, right?
It was
Yep.
the only shot I was able to take, unfortunately. But yeah, because one thing I did not realize when I got up there was they did not let me look through the scope. They wouldn't let me touch the gun until you guys were off the stage completely.
Oh wow.
So had I had a pair of binoculars or something along those lines, I could have spotted the targets ahead of time to know where they were. I was unable to do that. So the first target I hit and then time ran out, unfortunately. But
Yeah,
And
because
I go ahead.
Phil, Tyler, and Brent dragged butt through the shooting portion of. Yeah, my gosh.
What's interesting though is I think I looked at the scores afterward. We actually did quite okay on that stage. I
we
wouldn't say
did.
well, we did quite
Yep.
okay on that stage.
Yeah. Mhm.
Well, the
Just
big problem with it is that we showed up to shoot that stage, to participate in that stage, just as Team America or whatever absolutely dimed the thing.
Absolutely
yeah,
killed it.
yep,
Yeah.
And to give context, though, they got second place this year, so
right,
Oh
yep.
yeah.
and they won the year prior, so that's a pretty high standard. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll beat them one day. But yeah,
Maybe.
They'll age out.
Have you guys talked to
really don't.
Tanya Harding lately? Maybe she can help us out.
Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
only way we're gonna win. Jeez.
That's not true.
Or they can't make it one year. One other stage I kind of want to mention, I want to talk about here real quick before we kind of mention and go into the canoe and the ruck part of it, because I do want to cover that because that is unique to this match where there are some matches that do rucking, right, but not like this style necessarily. But there was the second stage that we did in the day. Speaking of trucks, was
Uh,
actually we were
Actually,
in
the
the
third.
was that the third one we did?
Yeah, we
So we
did the
did
shoot house
We
second.
did the shoot house second. Yep.
okay.
He's
Well,
fine.
we'll touch on
It
that one
was-
very briefly, but they do have a shoot house at the range, and it is a blind stage that you go into. I guess Daryl, if you want to mention on that real quick, just your thoughts on the shoot house stage.
The shoot house stage. Yeah, like okay, so it was blind. You had no idea what you were going into. You started out with your carbine, engaging targets, and they had targets with different markings on them, and below those targets was a ammo box. Before you entered the shoot house, you were given the marking on the target. So when you found that target, after engaging all of them, when you found that target with that marking, you had to open up the ammo box and get a code so that you could come back out to the beginning and open up a combination lock. So I think there was 4 different numbers in these things, if I remember correctly. That that was the combination. I did not. I missed my the marking on my target. I picked it was the right marking, but it was the wrong color target, something like that. So we were unable to
Oh,
open the
I
last
forgot
part of
about that.
it.
Right. And that was a 90-second shoot house, guys. You had to clear that house in 90 seconds and
Yep.
get out the door.
Yep. And it was kind of so like you said, it was our second stage, and I think on my second shot with my carbine, it jammed, so I had to go to my sidearm right away, which was fine. I cleared the shoot house with my pistol, but it didn't give me a whole lot. It didn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling about the rest of the day at that point.
Yeah, and that is one interesting thing is that you do have like a lot of times on the stages they'll have like a limit to how many rounds you're allowed to shoot from your primary, your carbine, and then if you do run dry, which the stage is designed to do so, or you have a problem, you are allowed to transition to your sidearm. And I will say that the Zombie Invitational was a lot like this too, but there's a huge advantage to people who shoot pistol a lot. So a lot of USPSA shooters had an advantage because shooting long range is definitely a challenge in and of itself, and I would put that up with like the skill set of shooting a pistol well. I feel like shooting a carbine is not necessarily overly difficult. If you can shoot a pistol, you can probably shoot a carbine just fine. but shooting pistol is definitely a skill set, and people tend to make stages that are difficult. They build the difficulty off of shooting the pistol. So if you shoot a lot of pistol, you have a lot of advantage. So USPSA, IDPA, any kind of action shooting pistol sports, I feel like there's an advantage. I don't know if you guys feel that same way or not,
I would agree. I would agree
Yep.
with that. Yes.
Agreed.
especially when it comes to like technical skill and ability to shoot small targets at distance.
Yep.
But that stage was a lot of fun, and that's one stage that every year that I always enjoy. Last year, Tyler, I held the title last year for 2 shooters on the fastest run through that stage. I go through and I get out, and the guy that's there that runs it, he's kind of being known as like, we don't swear on this podcast. He's kind of a hard guy,
Yep.
and we get out of it, and he's like, "Oh, hey, you set the fastest time for the day. That's pretty good." And I was like, "Dang!" Coming from him, I felt pretty good about that. And then I was like, all right. And it was like halfway through the day, so I'm like, somebody will beat me. I didn't realize it was gonna be Tyler 2 shooters later.
Mm-hmm.
Because Tyler, what are you, Tyler?
I'm Asian fast,
He's
Asian.
He's
Yeah.
Asian fast. Thank you.
which is
I just
Asian
want to say,
thing.
which is
Asian thing.
yeah, which is funny because with doing that last year, when I did the shoot house this year, I was like, I want it to be fast and accurate again. So I remember like clearing the shoot house fairly quickly, getting to the ammo box, see the intel, and coming back. And this person is like, slow down. It's okay. You've got time. Slow down. I'm like, no, I got to get back. And I finish. He's like, dude, what are you doing? You can slow down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if
yeah,
it's early.
it
I'm
was par. It was par this year instead of time.
because I'm a USPSA shooter, I'm thinking like finish fast. He's like, no, it's a par time. I'm like, oh, I got my sprints in for the day, I guess.
Yeah.
So
But that stage is always a enjoyable stage every year. Not very rarely do you have a chance to run a blind stage, truly a blind stage in a course of fire. The Zombie Invitational does at least one stage, couple stages typically with that, where you can't really see and do like a plan in advance. So that's always enjoyable. But then one stage and the next stage that is one that is unique, and not a lot of matches do this, but there are a few where you actually get to shoot from a vehicle.
Yep.
And Tyler, I'm going to hand this one over to you because I think, at least from the rifle side, you had the most success on this next one. So you kind of want to set us up and walk us through the truck ride stage.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't
Oh.
remember much about that.
Oh my gosh!
All right. Here we
Like,
go.
I remember like being on the truck, and I remember.
Off the
Oh,
podcast.
wait,
Oh
wait,
my
wait, wait. Nope, I'm remembering it now. Okay, so we're on a truck. That's right. Okay, never mind. I do remember. So of course, so there are four shooters on the truck. There's 2 pistols and 2 carbine. The pistol shooters are to shoot at steel targets, and carbine shooters are to shoot at paper targets only.
Are you looking at the video or something?
No, my Asian brain is actually turning right now. I remember.
Okay.
So, and I did have the thing in front of me earlier, but I don't have it in front of me right now. So, and I believe it was if a carbine shooter shot a steel target, I think you got a DQ for that stage, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
Because it was considered not safe because it was so close.
exactly. So, like, yeah. So I do remember that, and we made the decision for Philip and I to both do carbine, and for Brent and Deryl to do pistol. So, of course, we're on the truck and we're moving. We're on opposite sides. I think I had Daryl on my side, and
No,
we're
that was
just
me.
was it? See,
Yep.
I'm trying to remember, but so I mean that's really about it. I just remember shooting. I had this year because of the pistol brace. I don't even want to call it ban, but the whole ATF and what they
Policy.
tried to do. Yeah, the pistol brace ruling where they tried to ban it. I chose not to use my AR pistol because the Wolverine 5K was literally 2 days in after
Yeah.
the day was into
And
effect. So typically,
and
I
they
would
take photos and record video, so it's like one of those things you just don't want to mess with, right?
Right.
exactly. This was before the national injunction. So now, because I actually use Phillips 16-inch upper, thank you again for that.
Hey, no
And
problem.
yeah, I just used a red dot and a magnifier, and for me, everything just worked out great. I know Philip. Why don't you talk about your experience because you use your LPVO for that one? Because
Yeah, and one thing I kind of want to comment on this stage too is when you're ever walking into stage, you make a lot of decisions on how you're going to do things. So, um, Brent and Deryl are very like accomplished pistol shooters. So they were like, "Hey, let's do the pistol side of things." And then, not to say that Tyler and I are awful pistol shooters, um, but we had one thing with Tyler being a lefty was
Yeah.
that because if you shoot a pistol, you're more or less pointing the gun out straight center of you, right?
Yep.
Um, Whereas if you have a rifle, you are shouldering on one side or the other. So there is an advantage there. Tyler was almost stuck. While he's a very good pistol shooter, a very fast pistol shooter, he's almost stuck having to do carbine because you have that unique ability to set him up on the correct side of the truck,
That's true.
so that when he's aiming at the targets, he can actually like have an advantage over somebody who may be a righty on that side of the truck.
Definitely.
So that was huge. I learned a lot about shooting a. I had an LPVO, and it wasn't like a really overly nice one. It was a Vortex, and it was fine. And I didn't have an offset, or I did, but I'm not a huge fan of shooting offset. And I could not get a good sight picture. My eye box I was really struggling with while we were moving in the truck, and a few things that I realized later that I could have cleaned up on that would either like shorten my stock a little bit because we were bouncing around a little bit. Or like prior to starting, just having that good eye box and like asking the RO, can I check like while I'm sitting here, do you mind if I shoulder the rifle unloaded? Right. And I didn't think about that in going to it. So I think I only hit like 3 shots like on target on that thing.
Oh no, you did better than that. We did.
Oh
We did.
no, it was awful. It was my worst stage of the day by far.
Was it? Because I thought we scored well on that stage.
Yeah, you guys shot
We
really
did.
well.
Well, Daryl and I cleared steel, which
Yep.
was, I mean, was our goal. Now, refresh my memory. Was there a certain amount of rounds that we were given, so that, so if, because I think Daryl and I both took 5 rounds each.
Yeah. I want to say there was maybe a limit. Do you remember
There
how many
was a limit, so we wanted you guys to have more because you could lay more on there. So we took 5 rounds each because we both
Right.
had 2 targets.
That's right, because they gave us a certain
Oh,
amount that
that's
we could
right.
shoot.
Yes. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yep.
so, like I'm saying, so Daryl and I did. I mean, we had 2 targets and 5 rounds, and we cleared them. And that way, you guys had more rounds, so that you could do a little
Yep.
more double and triple tapping.
Yep.
And some people will say, and I would say that like even if Clara listens to this podcast, because he's trying not to game this system, right? But I wouldn't necessarily call that gaming. I would call that strategy, and it was built into that point though. He did design the stage to do that
Of
based on
course,
skill sets,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So realizing that Brent and Daryl were going to be able to clear that plate again because of shooting USPSA and being accomplished pistol shooters, it gives an advantage for those like things that we know we're going to be a little bit harder. It actually has a direct result of this, and I believe a lot, like we say that's the Indian, not the arrow or the bow. But I did actually change out my optic this year, and I got something as a much better like eye box. And I actually ended up swapping out my LPVO for a much much better LPVO because I did not want to run into a situation like this again. And I used that new LPVO at the zombie match later the year, and actually ended up falling in complete love with it. Now I actually really love that optic, and I'm hoping that if we do a stage like that in the future, I will not have that problem again. But again, it's like one of those things where you're testing your gear and you realize that something just didn't work for you, and you either got to change up. Like either I would go to a red dot next year with like a 6x magnifier. Now the Holosun has got one coming out, or get a better LPVO with a better eye box on it, or head box. Like you sure I'm using the wrong term.
yeah.
But that was a fun stage. It's like one of
Well,
those things again where like how often do you get to sit in the back of a vehicle and shoot at targets while you're moving?
right.
Mhm. So,
So it's
and even I guess on that note with Philip, I know for you, you're talking about how due to this match, you decided to make changes with your gear, with your LPVO. What about you, Brent and Daryl? Were there any changes to your gear that you noticed because of this match?
For me, not one thing.
with
That's
the
awesome.
HRT. I think
That is
that do you think that
So,
impacted you having your old carrier?
but yeah, nothing firearms or weapons. My, I've got an AR that's set up to go out to 500 meters,
awesome.
and also because of the 3 gun in me, I have a offset, Holosun dot on the side of it, so I can tip that thing back and forth, and I can shoot 5 feet away or 500 meters.
Yep.
I need to have a conversation with you and I think because Daryl, you run an offset as well. Is that
He
correct?
I
does.
do.
Daryl's got a great offset. It's real close to his bore. Mine is not.
Yeah, see, that's the only thing I struggled with. But I gotta have a conversation with you guys outside of this podcast about like figuring that out, and maybe we'll talk about it, as we talk about the next Wolverine 5K for next year, because I would like to approach that again at some point. All right. So the next stage that we kind of went off to, and wanted to talk about this one specifically because we had a unique experience with this one. It was the one where it was the long range only, if I'm correct. Is that accurate?
That is correct.
Yeah, the animals.
Yes.
The
And the
literal.
And
animals.
yep. And I'm going to have Daryl talk about this one again because he probably has the most experience in this space of long range shooting. And we had a unique experience on this course of fire, and I'm curious if he'll remember what it was. And it was pretty unique, so I have a feeling he knows what I'm talking about.
Well, so we started out back a ways from the shooting area, and then we had to approach the shooting area while low crawling underneath. I don't believe it was barbed wire. I believe it was ropes, but it was, basically the same thing. If you got too high, you weren't going to go any farther. So we're crawling through the sand with the rifle and I don't, did we have to have our backpacks on?
No, I think it was just
Well,
carrier.
I
Just
think it was just the
carriers.
carrier.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so we had the one rifle because we all used the same long range rifle, and then the bag to help rest it on. And then when we got up there, there was 4 steel targets at known distances, ranging out to the farthest one was a turkey at 746 yards, I
Seven,
think,
4, yeah, something like that.
somewhere around there. So we get there, and we decided that I would shoot first. And so I get up on the line, and we're using a log for support here, and they call time because there was a deer out there, a live deer out there.
Mm.
I thought we got DQ'd for something, and I was like, wait, what's
Yeah.
going on?
Yeah.
And I'm like, crap, it's like our fourth stage of the day, and we're already done.
So the deer is I can't remember all the distances, but they were real close to the third target out, which was a elk, I believe. And the guy said the RO on the stage says, if you are comfortable and you have the ammo, you go ahead and shoot the elk and see if we can scare him away. So I did. I loaded around, took my aim, hit the shot, didn't didn't even phase the deer. He didn't even look.
Not even look.
Would you say
So
that he gave you the the deer in the headlights look?
no, he didn't even look. I mean,
No,
I don't think he even moved. So anyway, we just had to wait for him to clear off. 5 minutes later, he was gone.
That's
And
crazy.
so I
Yeah.
re-engaged the 4 targets, and the one that I missed was the elk.
I did not know that. That's hilarious.
yes.
Yeah, I missed the elk. That went during the actual match. I missed that target. It really upset me.
So this is one of the unique stages where, again, this is a team event, right? And I like that they play into the team event because we asked the RO at the beginning of this stage, I think it was, is it okay if Daryl, who has the most experience with long range and it's his rifle, dials for us? Obviously, we have to take their shot ourselves, but because Daryl knew how to dial his gun properly, we figured it would save us a lot of time. Plus, you have one person manipulating the gun while the other person's firing it, right?
Right.
So not so much like a sniper or spotter concept, but then the third person would actually call out the range and then what they needed to be dialed. So um, Daryl would actually dial for us, which made it for those of us who are on the team who are less experienced in shooting long range. Really, it was just kind of a breeze, and at that point, it was just point and click, right?
Hmm.
Was that we call that, Tyler, the 360 no scope?
Yeah, bro.
Except
360
for
no-scope knife across the map.
that's right. But that one went pretty well. I think we actually did we complete that one in time? I can't remember
I'm
if everybody got their shots
pretty
off.
sure we did. Yeah.
Yeah, we got all the
I
shots
thought
off.
so.
We did have misses though.
We did
Yeah.
misses. Yep,
Yep.
Mhm.
yep. I think most teams did, but in general, it's funny because I think as a result of that deer out there, we almost had a bit of an advantage because our heart rate's got a chance to dip a little bit while we're waiting for it to clear
That is
off.
a good point.
Yes. Yep.
But that's just one of those things where, like, as an RO, you have to make that call to say, I'm not going to make you run this again because number one, there's people lined up behind you. Number two, it's like it's not fair in either way. You're stuck either way, right? You're gonna screw somebody one way or another. But I think they handled it really well, and the ROs were really cool on that stage, and getting the deer to clear off and then waiting for it to go um, was pretty awesome.
It was. So I just looked at the video that I put together, and I took a picture. Well, somebody took a picture of that target's
Yeah.
distances. You got a pig at 250, deer at 463. These are yards, by the way.
Yep.
A caribou at 564, and the turkey was at 764.
Man,
Okay.
I'm glad that you have that written down because I think it really helps the listener understand like the distances and how we're doing this.
Yep.
So it was single shot per target. Again, kind of a weird position shooting off of a log where it was almost like a kneeling kind of.
Oh,
It's like it
yeah,
was a weird stance.
it
I think
was.
some people sat maybe and
It was not
I did.
comfortable, that's for sure. And again, about the delay because of the deer, it helped us, gave us time to find all four of those targets because I had a real hard time finding the deer that the target deer because it was in the shadows underneath a tree,
Yep.
and it took me a little while to find that thing.
yeah. I'm trying to remember. Were we allowed to use binoculars on this stage?
We,
If we were, we didn't have them with us.
Yeah, that may be something we can ask about for next year to have that like spotter, the fourth person spotting the target. But I know we were kind of helping people call out like where the targets were at, to help them find and engage them.
yeah, I thought we had a spotting scope in there, guys. I don't know why.
I can't
This
remember.
this is one of the stages that I did not run a camera on. I don't know why, but I
Did
have
you get
no
knocked off your head when we were going through the?
maybe, but I there's no footage of us on this stupid long range thing. I don't know why I didn't have something running.
Interesting. The one thing I want to mention too before going through, and this is again in Claire, the match director, this posts this frequently. It's an opportunity to really test your equipment, and we would find out that your stuff would get hung up
Oh,
on like the barbed wire as you go through it. So kind of get like as low profile as possible while you're going underneath that and putting stuff down, like zipping it down or whatever next time, maybe something to look into. All right, so we already talked about the next stage, which was the one where we did the shooting off the barrels, and then as carbines engaging, there were like 6 targets out in the field, moving the casualty over, and then the long distance, and then after that, we had to get on the bus to go to the canoe.
yeah.
And if you guys remember, there was some like contention there. So Brent, I'm gonna let you take that one.
Well, I mean, we're supposed to get on the bus at 11:20, and this dude's trying to roll out 10 minutes early. There's like 15, 20 guys running down the road screaming, "Hey, hey!" I mean, from not only our team but other teams. And it was kind of funny because the dude's like, "Well, I'm just getting ready to go to the." And I don't know if you remember the dude, but he was a, um, well, I mean, he was a dude that drives a bus to take you to a canoe. You know,
That's a
he was
great.
fantastic. He was,
He likes heavy ice in his lemonade.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
right. Big beard, big hat, bib. I think he had overalls on.
Well, and
Just
also too, when during the range briefing, the match briefing, they were very clear saying, "You do not miss your bus. You miss your bus, you
right.
are going
yeah.
to lose a ton of
Yep.
points." Like, so, and of course, it's like really hard when like guys, like, why are you leaving 10 minutes before half the bus was empty and the bus was supposed to be full?
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, fortunately, that was another way we used teammates on that one because we had a wagon with stuff in it, and the reason we used that wagon was for a few reasons. Allowed us to actually the main reason behind it was actually really smart. And there's no rules against having that with you. Because other teams were doing the same thing as well. But having all your ammo with you because stages are so specific on round counts. So it would be like rifle magazine 20, first pistol magazine 8, or something like that before you make a reload on the pistol. So having the additional ammo with you allowed you to, if there's a line at one stage, to go to the next stage, download your magazines or upload or whatever it is, set them correctly for the next stage. So you're not, instead of running back to your car to do that. And then again, maybe getting stuck in the back of the line again. So again, it's about efficient time management and using the tools and stuff that you have available to you to get completed within the time set forth. So that was a good call, even though it was such a pain pushing that thing. We'd have somebody pushing from behind and somebody pulling from the front, trying to get through the
Oh,
sand. So I don't think it was, other
and
than
that
a
was my,
time save, or I think it wasn't that. It was still a workout.
yeah, that was my big tired one too. So
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was big tired after we got done pushing that one.
the funny Dr. Jones.
Notice how Tyler doesn't even laugh anymore. He's just over there shaking his head. I can see him. I know he's doing it.
I don't know what you're talking about, bro.
All right, so then I ended up. So you guys are pushing the cart back. I ended up dropping my rifle, pistol, all that stuff because you weren't allowed to take that with you onto the ruck and the canoe. I dropped that and quickly ran on the bus as we had predefined, got on it to make sure they would not leave before the scheduled time. And other teams were doing the same thing. So they were like yelling at the bus driver, like, "Hey, you cannot leave yet. It is not time." And we're looking at our clock, and it was like blatantly off that number.
It was.
So fortunately they waited as a result, and then I got just good planning on all the team's parts that were getting on this thing, and then made it to the canoe kickoff, which was down. How long was the bus drive? It was a good 15-20 minutes to get to where we
Yeah.
started. Down imagine a school bus going down some dirt roads in the middle of the national forest.
It
It
was
was
fun.
it was fun, especially for those of us who are gifted in the height department who don't fit in the bus seats very well. So anyway, comments on the canoe section, other than the
Uh,
fact that it was extremely beautiful the entire time while we were out on the
it
Oh, it
river.
was
was
a
nice and
gorgeous day.
gorgeous day. It was cool. You could stick your hat in the water and put it back on.
Mhm.
We didn't tip.
The only question that I have is there. So at one point there was a fork in the river,
Oh yeah.
and we didn't know it at the time,
Yep.
but there was a okay, what were they calling those?
Uh, yeah.
I
It's
don't
like a
remember. I just called them the checkpoints, but I know
Okay,
it's
so yeah, there was a checkpoint where you had to get some information on on one side of that. How did we determine which side we were going on?
I know this
So
one.
I do actually know this one, but Brent, go ahead.
Um,
Please. Sorry.
Brent is fat, and
No, no.
the
Philip is also fat.
canoe would not go down that side of the freaking river.
because the left side was definitely
That's
more
right. You guys got hung up. That's
Yep.
how
I feel like
Tyler and
Brent.
I got ahead of you.
I feel like Daryl walked us into that one. Like he just wanted to admit that we're fat.
It was crazy because we're like, okay, we ain't doing this. So we backed out
Yep.
as Tyler and Daryl floated past us on the other side.
Yeah, we did.
And the crazy part about it was there was a couple of teams ahead of us that went down that alternative to the
Both.
left.
Yeah. Both.
Yep.
It was a set of It was a set of we each had two canoes, so two teammates per canoe.
Yeah. So some of the teams missed that checkpoint altogether
Yep.
because they went the wrong way.
And what's
And it was
crazy,
funny because
I think it was the last checkpoint too, wasn't it? Before we got off the canoe.
It may have been
I
Tyler.
think you're right.
And then what's funny is when we got off our canoes, we're kind of getting our bags back on. Do you guys remember that guy that came up to us afterwards?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he was trying to bribe us
Trying to
with
bribe us
other intel
Yeah.
other intel that we
Well,
already
it
had.
was
we already
more
had.
like, hey, just to let you guys know, there's a river right up front. There's a stream, and I've got some trash bags. I know you guys went the right way. I'll trade you trash bags for intel. And we're like, we
What
got
did we have in our backpacks?
bro.
We were
Trash
rolling
bags.
out trash bags.
He looked so defeated and walked away.
I know, and you feel bad, but it is a competition in the end,
Exactly.
and
I
I mean,
didn't.
like
I didn't feel
hardcore
bad.
competition.
Daryl's like, I didn't feel bad.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
fat teammates who had to go down the other side, and we got the point as a result. Pays to be fat sometimes.
Um,
Weight gifted. We'll put it that way.
yeah, looking at the video just now, looking at my cuts. Yes, that was the last one. That was the last one that we went around and got.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say that the canoe is such a contrast to the rest of the race because it's not hectic is maybe the wrong word, but there's a lot of, and it's not even necessarily stressful. I mean, everything is stressful whenever you have you're trying to compete and that kind of stuff. But it was so the lake was, or the river was so beautiful, and it was so placid is the wrong word, but it was just different than the rest of the race. It was kind of nice. It was like a nice break,
It
right?
was, Yes, it was.
Unfortunately, this is one of those examples of like Brent and Deryl saving our bacon and actually knowing how to steer canoes. So Tyler and I were just the muscle up front helping motorize the thing.
We got through it.
We did good.
Yep.
Yep.
So we get out of the canoes, kind of pull them up on course. This whole time we're being clocked. So the race is basically your time that you get on the canoe and the ruck, and then you subtract points with every point that you get during the shooting stages. So pulling up the things, and we're actually swapping out some gear. Like I don't know if we should shoes at all, not this year, but um, there was that river that we knew about because I'd done it before in the past, where you had to go across a river and your shoes would get absolutely soaked. So we did have plastic bags, and it was hilarious because you got a bunch of grown men, like a 1980s style, with bags around your feet to try to keep
Unless
your
you're
shoes from
Brent.
getting wet.
Yeah.
Except for Brent, who had a hole in his bag.
Yeah, whatever. The truth of the matter is, if we do that again, if we have to cross that river, I'm walking through it because that water felt really good in my shoe and it dried out in about a half an hour walking down all those trails. So
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The way those guys crossed in the real shallow part there and just got their feet wet, that probably the way to go.
probably
Yeah, I'll have to look at that next year too, because I think I was wearing my leather boots at the time. I'll double check that because I would not want to get those soaking wet. But
they'll dry out
maybe,
so quickly.
yeah.
Walk them dry.
Um, so then on the, like we mentioned earlier on the canoe, there was the checkpoints, which is the term they use, by the way. So you get checkpoints that also gives you intel, which you can use to reduce your score as well. Um, but then we hit the ruck and 45 pounds again through like a sandy path, and it was pretty much knowing from years previous, and it was going to be a direct path back. Now they could have changed it up, but there's orienteering technically. But we was like, look, we're gonna take this path back. I guarantee it. We'll probably have some spots on the side. Let's do a rough orientation on the way back, and so we kind of took off and
And
found most of the spots.
yeah, Tyler
um,
saved our bacon on a couple of
yes, I
those
was
with the.
just gonna bring that up.
Okay,
So
all
Yep.
right.
yeah, no, and I appreciate you remembering that too, Brent. So Tyler,
Yeah,
what did
bro.
you do?
I
What
What
ran
did
did
you
you
do?
say?
point.
He Asian fasted out into the woods and got the freaking checkpoint. That's what he did.
Young Asian fasted.
Well, I just remember the ruck portion, and of course Philip is saying it was a straight shot, and we're like, let's make sure because we're on the trail, and let's make the main road's on our right, and forest is on our left. So we're going. I was like, okay, we're curious, like, where is the actual checkpoints? Will they be on the main trail or would they be in the forest? And eventually, because I felt like it took forever before the actual first checkpoint. And then we look left, is like, sure enough, there it is with the orange flag. What, 30, 40 yards into the trees? So I just looked at the guys. I'm like, here's the flag. I'm just gonna go, keep going, because there's no point in all four of us going in there.
Right.
So I just went in there, took a picture of it, and just came right back out. And I did that probably 3 times, I think, 4 times.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
For the listeners who cannot see Tyler, Tyler is a athletic specimen of a man. So the rest of us are advanced in age. We'll just leave it at that. So he did definitely
I'm a
save our bacon
youth,
on that.
man. I don't know what you're talking about.
And again, that's just part of like having a good team dynamic and realizing where your strengths and your weaknesses are, right? And somebody basically quote unquote taking one for the team. So like Tyler, we'd kind of keep pace with Tyler as he was going through the woods to grab like the intel while he was there and making sure that we were able to see him during that whole time. So he would grab the intel. This year you take a photo of some stuff, which is on the list, have a camera, and then we kind of move on to the next point, which was eventually checkpoint Daryl.
Yeah,
Dun
Daryl.
dun
All we talk
dun.
about Daryl.
Uh, yes,
No, there's
it was.
sand
It
and
was
it's
rough,
hot,
man.
and we have 45 pounds on our back.
Yes, it was named after Daryl from the movie, not myself. Okay, I had nothing to do with it. But I think it was it, the highest point in Michigan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is Mountain Daryl. I
Yeah.
think is what. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, that climb was killer.
It was rough.
It was rough.
That was brutal.
And Luckily, when we got to the top, there was some more intel to be gotten. So we got to the top of this big hill and had to use binoculars to glass the hill on the other side of the valley, aka the highway,
Yeah.
to find big painted letters that were stood up in the brush on the hillside on the other side to decode the word, basically. So that break, while we were, to get your gear off and sit there with binoculars and find those letters, was a godsend.
Yeah, very much so. And I have a feeling it was intentional.
I have a feeling it was, yes.
Oh yeah. Well, because that one was, I don't think it's called extra credit, but it was optional. That's what it was. It was
The
Okay.
glassing part of it, yeah. Yep.
yeah, because there was like the main intel and there was the optional intel where you had to decode. I think what was it? Freedom, I think was
Patriots.
Patriot.
Yeah.
Patriot.
That's what it
Yep.
Yeah.
was.
That was kind of cool. And again, it gives you that chance instead of just like burning time and not getting any points, you're actually generating points while you're burning time. So
Exactly.
it gives you a chance to take a break. And I think the Wolverine 5K, while it is very challenging, um, Claire does a good job of like balancing off like realizing that there's a lot of us that have day jobs, right? And we're not active military. We can't always be training for something like this,
Hmm.
right? Obviously, you want to be training for as much as you can, but realistically, it's not possible unless that's what you do for a living or you spend all your spare time in the gym.
Exactly. Well, what's crazy is like Philip mentioned, I am someone who works out and I'm somewhat athletic. I do remember that hill, and I told Phil I was probably 3 steps away before my quads just collapsing because they were so strained from that hill. Like, so it was like a godsend that we could just sit down and rest there.
If there would have been a bell there, I'd have rung it.
Nope.
Yeah,
We wouldn't let you. We'd hold you down, and it wouldn't be very hard either because we would just sit on you.
So the funny part about this, guys, is one of the things that I was super blessed with is where I trained for the 2023 W5K was in Coast Guard Park, which was all sand hill trails,
Mm-hmm.
there
and it
you
had
go.
a 48-foot elevation from where you start, go through, and come back. So no, that wasn't easy for me. That hill, that thing, I sucked. I hated it. All those things, but I was ready for that because
Oh,
it was beach sand that I trained on. So
wow.
That's funny.
Good
You,
for
you
you.
mentioned that you were blessed with that sand training.
yep, I
I
was.
know we joke a lot about, and Tyler does as well himself, and it's an advantage of being Asian fast. But I'm also Dutch stubborn, so I just refuse to stop. And I got to the top of the hill, and I was like, people are taking the packs off, and I was like, if I take this pack off, it's not going back on. So I just like left it on the whole time and leaned up against a tree. I think. I
Mhm,
don't think I may have sat down briefly, but I was like, if I sit down, I'm not getting back up.
mhm.
But that's just the stubbornness, the Dutch stubbornness inside me.
I
Yeah.
just remember popping more electrolyte gummies up there, man. I'm like, I need something.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about that in like the equipment stuff, but man, hydration and like electrolyte gummies, the Gatorade, like constantly, you are
Mhm.
always feeding your body, even when you don't want to. And I remember eating like Cliff bars constantly. I'm like, this tastes disgusting, and I don't want to eat it, but I know my body wants it. So
Dude, I tell you what, the thing that saved my bacon on that, and I trained with that as well, is the stupid frog fuel.
That's right.
Um,
yeah, yep,
I
yep,
at I probably had 10 or 15 packs of that during the actual competition,
made with
and
real frog.
I did not have any dehydration. I was fine. Um, I was really happy with that. Of course, we were all carrying 3 liters of water in our, camelbacks.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
that's the fun thing because we say 45 pounds, but realistically, it's probably in the 50s because you
oh,
don't get to count water.
oh
Oh,
yeah, yep. And to also another thing that W5K and Claire does really well is there is a UTV with water up and down those trails all the time.
Yeah, yep,
So
mhm.
I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Yep.
you grab a
That's
water. A lot of the waypoints that were manned, they had water at them.
yep,
yep.
So he keeps track of you pretty doggone good there. So
yeah, and that was nice. And I definitely refilled like my water bottles and stuff, and I never want to plan on it. it was nice to have, and I think I always take that advantage of having the water available when you get it. That way, like if you have to dip into your supplementary water that you have in your bladder or in another bottle or whatever, however you're carrying it, then you have it. But then I'd rather have a plethora, that's the wrong word, a cornucopia of water than to not have enough.
Yep, we did good.
No, that was good. And then we get back to the end of the stage. One thing that, and I think it was my fault, and I'll take credit for this, and we would definitely would have scored better if we thought about it. Was I thought for sure in years past that you were able to like your time was done when you arrived, and then you could calculate your like information, like translate from tap code and Morse code
Right.
and then decipher the information off the clock. And I was definitely wrong. So going forward, we will be doing that while we're on the clock, and we'll assign people to do that while we're moving. And again, that's not a teammate thing. So we definitely lost some time at the end there while we were deciphering it. And it was one of those instances too where Tyler and I were working on it. I was definitely not doing a great job with it. And then Brent and Deryl were like, "Would you guys like us to take over?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And you guys knocked it out in much faster time than I think I would have been able to do for sure.
Well, yeah, and like I say, and I agree with you, Phil. I mean, even knowing what we know now, we may even stop at one of those waypoints, do that so that we catch a
Oh,
Yep.
4 minute
definitely,
breather, and
definitely.
then off we go because we know we got it. You
Yep.
know,
Yep. Agree 100%.
not the
So,
canoe, but you know what? We
yeah.
should have had somebody deciphering that crap. One of the front guys,
Yep.
and let a driver take like Phil, you figuring one out, Tyler figuring one out because we could have had all that done on the canoe part.
Right. That's a good point. Even having half of it done would have been better than having none of it done.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
But I think that's just the willingness to realize too that, and why we set up this team the way it is people will own their mistakes, right? And they'll try to get better the next time. And you're never going to have a perfect run, but you're always trying to make those incremental improvements and do better than what you did the year previous,
Yep.
right? So the goal that we had from this year was number one, finish, right? The whole thing, right?
We
But
finished.
then and then the next goal was like to get a good score obviously, and we'd never done this before as a team, so we had no idea of what to expect. And there are a lot of teams that will go negative, and there's a lot of teams that go positive. So it's like golf, the lower the score the better, and if you go negative the better. And some of the winning teams were like negative 100, which is crazy, right? um we had a one, we ended up with one 1 point. I was
One
like,
point. Yep.
so I think my goal for next year personally, and I think it's probably a team goal, the rest of us too, is to go negative this coming year.
I know we
Because
can.
Yep. And I think once you go negative, you end up like we did really well, and we'll talk about how we finished at the end of the podcast. But if you go negative, it's number one, it's a team goal, and then you're kind of like saying, "Hey, we are capable of doing this, like, and capable of competing." All right, so we get back, turn in the scores, decipher everything, and then go on to the last couple stages here. And at the point, what time did we get? Were we back by? It wasn't overly late.
No, we did that ruck, and the canoe in the ruck was something like 2:48 or something. Am I wrong on that? Or was
It
it
sounds a
3:48?
little long.
Was it long?
I
It
can't
it
remember.
took
I
it
should have
took
pulled
us
the
a
scores up
lot
before I
longer
hopped
than
on.
we thought.
Yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
tell. I mean, I'm looking back at some old pictures. Like the
Yeah, me
last
too.
checkpoint picture I have was at 2 o'clock.
Okay.
So, and we started it. Well, we got on the bus at 11:20. So it was at least 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that last checkpoint, there wasn't a that last checkpoint was a we probably went 1 or 2K after that to get
Mhm.
back to MTC.
Exactly. So it
So
was. So it was probably like two. Yeah. So it was probably 3 hours then.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
I don't know why 2:48 sticks in my head.
Hmm.
It sounds right. So we had a few stages that were left in this, and there were one of them was, and I don't remember what the order was of these, but one was like a USPSA hit factor type stage instead of like
Yep.
a power time stage.
Hmm.
Yep.
That one was unique in that you started up the road, and then when you had to run to the stage, so to try to get your heart rate up, and then run the USPSA stage. And what I found was really interesting is that they did on this one versus like a normal USPSA stage, you're shooting as an individual. But on this stage, they had the ability to make up shots from like if your teammate was like, "Hey, I think I missed this target or these targets," you have the opportunity to make up shots based on the last shooters that were there. It would just consume more time, right? But then you had the ability to make more points. So I think there was a instance of where we did that, where a few of us that were the last couple of people took a few extra shots just to ensure that we got more points on that stage. And then the one stage I wanted to talk about too, before we talk about the log stage, if I'm forgetting another stage too, please call it out. But it was the one where it was almost like a patrol style stage. They have a stage that's a long stage, and it's probably 100 yards from in like one end to another, maybe even further.
Yep.
And there's berms on either side of you, and it's a skinny stage. And you would walk down the stage. Who's got a good memory of this stage?
Well, for this stage, you had so of course there were four of us. Two people were carrying like some type of like jug or something, right?
Yeah,
They were
that's right.
behind, and the person in
I forgot
front was
about that. Jerry cans, I
shooting
think.
at
Yep.
different targets. And then we had to communicate with each other. We'd move in the same line, then we would holster and then switch. And with this stage, this is the one that we game did. Remember, Philip, where we asked them
Yeah.
like, "Hey, like, can because it was based off you had to take a shot at the target, but it was still based off of just how many targets you just hit in the A. So in the middle target, we literally took like 10 shots at him. We got 10 points right there.
Yeah,
So,
because it was an open target versus some of the other ones that were covered. And it was
Yep.
funny because you're listening to the walkthrough,
yep,
and you can tell that the guy was implying that there's a way to do the stage to get a lot of points.
exactly.
And we realized really quickly, and we asked him, we said, "Oh, are you saying that we can take a bunch of open shots at this and you'll count a bunch of A's?" And he's like, "Yep." So we confirmed that and then did so. And a few other teams figured that out as well too. I remember looking at the scores after the fact. But that was definitely one of our top stages, hands
Well,
down, just because we racked
we
up
got the max
so many
points
points
on
on
that
that.
one. So,
We did. Yep. I think it was 120 or something like that.
Well, and
mhm.
then this goes back to our training thing. The very first time that the four of us got together, we did drills, moving as a team,
Hmm.
uprange, shooting targets, engaging back and forth with carbine and pistol, and even going to weak side.
Mhm.
Yes, that's right.
So we did those drills, and once we figured out, oh, this is just the drill that we do, it was piece of cake.
Yep.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of training. And I believe one of the things that we did very well was communication. We're
Yeah.
always
I was
communicating
just
with
thinking
each
that,
other,
Tyler.
always talking and making sure, because even for all of us being leaders in our different areas, like I've just learned the moment you feel like you've communicated too much, that's probably the first time someone's heard it the first time. So I'd rather over communicate than under communicate.
Yeah, and a lot of that was because you would get DQ'd if one person stepped out in front of the other person. So it was a
Exactly.
lot of making sure that that person was moving at the same pace next to you, and then like you would take your shots. And I think we did like either said like clear or did a hand gesture or something like that before we then progressed forward on to the next
Yep.
spot. And then
We
you
used
had to like
moving.
peel off. That was good. That was an example of like when I don't know how we could have done that stage much better. I don't think we could have because we maxed out the score on that one.
Yeah, I was about to say we maxed out, so we couldn't have. And
Yep.
then what was the next one? Was that the base the
Oh, it was a physical challenge one with the tire flipping.
Tire
Yep.
flipping,
It was, yeah,
or
it was
was
the
it?
I was thinking the
No, it
competition
was.
Or,
for the rifle, wasn't it? Or was it
Yes,
the
it
tire
was.
flip?
You had to carry
yeah.
the bricks.
Yep,
yeah.
Yes.
one there. That's what it was. Yep.
Yep.
That one was interesting because you had a time limit. Again, it was par, and you didn't get any advantage by completing early,
Hmm.
but you had to carry bricks from like one point to another and then back. And then you had to run and shoot your rifle. And the score was based on how many points you got in like each ring got you more points.
Yeah, and you could be
Well,
in
then
any position, I believe, right? For the
Correct.
hmm
You
yeah, it
could
was
be prone
prone.
if you chose to. Yep.
Well, everybody chose prone, but it was,
oh,
and
of
then
course.
you go to counting X's. So if you're 10, then you're counting X's.
Yep.
Hmm.
And this one, I think they gave away a rifle to the person that did the best on this. They actually ended up having to do a shoot off, I think, as a
They
result.
did.
They
Yep.
did. Yep.
Yeah,
The guy from Fujicon.
of course.
Yep. But
Somebody didn't know how to count on this one because they
I think
ran
it
out
was,
of ammo.
I think it was me.
No, it was me.
Oh,
I only had 9 shots on target. And I was like, and they were all pretty good. And I was like, there's no freaking way I missed one of these. I
uh-huh.
think I just didn't take a shot.
Hmm. Now somebody had to bring me. I don't even remember how it transpired, but somebody had
I
to bring me
ran and
another
got you a
mag.
magazine, dude.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Still got done in time though.
Yep,
Beauty of part time, man.
you
Yeah.
did well.
There's that one, and then the next stage was the one where there were physical, like I jokingly call them feats of strength that you had to do while shooting, like do the feat of strength and then shoot your pistol at
Yep,
targets.
4
Yep.
positions.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think there was a Tyler. Do you remember all the positions?
Yep.
Honestly, dude, I barely remember. I just remember. I don't even remember flipping tires.
What is
Man, you're
wrong with
young.
you
You're supposed
guys?
to have a good memory on
This is
this.
Yeah.
like
There was a
this is
tire.
the one stage I don't remember.
Okay, are you ready?
Go
Yep.
for it.
Sled, tire, water cans, and a bag.
Yep.
That's right. I hated that
That's
stupid
right.
bag. I could
Okay,
not get a
I
good grip on
remember
that
it
thing.
now. Yep.
Daryl, you and I got to find some new teammates that got brains.
We have brains. We just have terrible memory.
No,
I'm just
Good
I
thing
pretending
you're
like
young
like
and
no,
can
I'm
move.
just pretending like I don't remember because I actually have the stage in front of me. I'm trying to make Tyler feel better.
yeah.
Okay.
So
How do you have a stage in front of
the
you?
bag was what
I have the
some
printout in
kind
front
of
of me.
canvas
I
duffel
can't
bag.
find it.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember I had
It-
a hard time getting a grip on that, and I remember like ripping a nail off when I grabbed it.
Oh,
Wait,
I
what?
really I underestimated or I overestimated it. One of the I don't know. But you had to pick it up off of a barrel
yep.
and then carry it over and put it on top of another barrel.
Yep.
And I really had some momentum going, I guess. But when I tried to put it on the barrel, I almost threw it right over the other
Oh
side.
man.
It's like, wait, no, get back here.
He yeeted it. Yeet.
Oh.
It's interesting because we know we talked about this earlier in the podcast, and I want to point this out because it's another great example of somebody having a skill set and sharing it with a team, and it's tire flipping. I remember the first time I was flipping tires with Tyler. I'm like, I can't do this. This thing weighs a metric ton. And Tyler's like, no, it's all about how you flip a tire. So remember you showing me how to do it. And once you learn how to flip a tire, and these are like huge tractor tires, right?
Oh yeah.
Once you figure out how to flip a tractor tire, um, it's really not that hard. And most anybody can do it. Doesn't matter how much you're able to like bench press. It's all about momentum.
hmm
You'll have to
Um,
show me that, Tyler.
Yeah, for sure. You have a
but
tractor
that,
tire?
yeah, no, right?
No, but I'm looking for one.
Yeah. I mean, I will admit, now that I have a home
Or
gym,
we could find
like,
some
I
tractors.
would actually enjoy. Yeah, I
I
would. I would like to do tire flips and even get sledgehammer hitting. Like get a sledgehammer hit tires. That's actually a lot of fun and a great workout.
mm,
So like that.
Mm.
Those are fun stuff. I'm like, yeah,
They did that with the Finnish brutality, where they had to hit
really.
tires with a hammer.
Oh,
And I can tell that like Claire has clearly watched stuff from the Finnish brutality from this past year that was after the Wolverine 5K, because a lot of these challenges that are showing up, or some like that he's already kind of announced, are like a modification of the Finnish brutality stuff. So they need to stop making that thing so freaking hard because we're gonna get hammered with it.
Yeah.
That's a hammer joke, by the way.
Right.
On
On a
God.
side note, if you guys are looking for tires, I most likely can come up with them because, well, because of what I do for foreshore. So
Oh yeah.
rob cars. Just kidding. And then the last stage was
We don't
the
talk
most
about the
challenging
last
stage of
thing.
the day, and I know
We,
we don't talk about this one,
we don't
and
even.
I'm going to bring it up briefly,
I don't want to talk about this.
but I'll be very quick then.
I'm
This one was
kidding.
actually really challenging,
Yeah.
to the point where like it almost got to the point where it was getting unsafe, and I think we actually called it as a result, and it was basically gas mask, wearing a gas mask the whole time. You had this massive heavy log that was over top of you that you had to lift over your head, and while the person was lifting over the head, the other teammate had to shoot targets. And then you had to have it up the whole time. And then when they came back, you had to dip it down. So not only are you sucking air the whole time through this gas mask that you have on, you have this thing over your head. And our team is disproportionate when it comes to height. So I'm over here at 6'6", and Tyler's at like 4'5", 4'5"
Gotcha.
something like that. And so he got a lot of weight on him, unfortunately, as a result. But we did make and I want to end it on this because I don't want to dwell on in a negative. But we ended up calling it and saying, this is not worth it. This is going to be unsafe. Let's be done. And we called it and took a 0 on the stage as a result,
Yep.
which was fine. And again, much rather be safe
Yeah. And
than end up like having like somebody get hurt.
yep. Well, what's crazy is right after
100%.
we dropped the log, I ended up having a tricep cramp for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes.
That's right. Your arm like completely limp.
Crazy. Like you could see my arm just spasming through my shirt.
Yep.
That was insane. I'm like, all right.
Mhm.
And they're like, you drinking enough water? I'm like,
Yeah. Did you eat some bananas?
I had what?
That's why I asked you that.
I had like what 4 bananas like between the day before the day of. I had a gallon of coconut water, a gallon of water, and a gallon like half a gallon of Gatorade. So I'm like, and electrolyte gummies. I'm like, yes, I am.
Have you gone to the gym lately?
Yeah. Have you tried working out, Tyler?
Are you actually working hard in the gym? Like, I guess
Do you
not.
even lift, bro?
You told me
Yeah,
you're laying on a bench.
I know, for 15 minutes. That's what he does.
exactly. That's why. That's my workout right there.
No, I had a really bad feeling about that stage right from the get go, and I
Yeah,
wasn't
But it lasts.
we opted to do that one last.
right. And the
Um,
hard part about it was the shooting. Man, the shooting was intense. It was three different target arrays. It was
Mhm.
weak hand with a gas
Yeah.
mask on with an AR.
Yep.
Yep.
It was sucked. And then
It was tough.
My gas
after everybody
falling off.
did carbine, you had to do a pistol portion of that. So you had that log for a long time. I'm really glad that we ditched it.
Yeah, we tried to call it, and I think it's just it's a call on the team, right, to do that kind of stuff, and they may do it again next year, and I put in a comment there. I said, give people opportunity to have that because again, we're not all type A physical, or body type A's that are like physical specimens, right? I mean, unfortunately, we all work jobs, and this is something we love to do. We definitely put and I'm not trying to cop out on this because we put a crap ton of effort into this competition and just this competition alone.
But I
But
don't
man, it was getting to the point where it was definitely dangerous, and a lot of teams didn't even attempt this stage.
I don't even know if it's that, Phil. I mean, like you're saying, you're 6'6". Tyler and Daryl are 5'8". I'm 6 foot. It just didn't work out.
Right.
No,
You know what I'm saying?
because the requirement was the log had to be above all of our heads.
All of your heads.
That's hard. Like it's basically at a 45-degree angle on us.
It
Yeah.
had a
Pretty
good
much.
slope.
Yep.
Mhm.
All right. So enough about that one. So that was the last stage of the day. There was also the option to do pull-ups. Tyler and I both have a goal for next year because they're going to add it again. We want to get some points on the board with that. One of the reasons I bought the pull-up bar.
Mhm.
Um, and then
I know.
they end up doing the. Oh,
Yeah.
go ahead, Tyler.
Well, with the pull-ups, like the way that it worked was in order for us to get it was for every 4 pull-ups you got 1 point. And for me, I was like, okay, I figured I would be the only one who would even attempt the pull-ups. I could probably do 6 to 8 unweighted, but the way I saw them, like for 1 point and the amount of energy I would be exerting, I just didn't think it was worth it because I'd rather all of us use that energy on an actual
Right.
shooting stage.
The biggest problem, Tyler, is you had a ripped or a spasming tricep. It wasn't going to
Yeah.
happen.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Right.
But it was just I just knew there's no way because for me I was like I probably would have done pull-ups more towards the beginning anyway because I knew how physically taxing pull-ups are. So
Yeah.
Yeah. You almost do it like right before the ruck. Part of it may make some
that
sense,
that's
and
actually
you have to do it with your body armor on too.
yep.
But I would credit to people who did it though, because there was some dudes there that were
Oh
like
dude,
advanced in age, and I saw some guy that was probably like late 50s completely crush that bar
Are you talking
and
about
do.
the camo? What were they called?
I can't
I
He
remember,
don't
was
remember.
but what,
61 years old, dude.
yeah,
Those guys.
he
61.
crushed it. 21 pull-ups, I think, is what he did. It was
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
But cool to watch, and I give him credit to that. And that's something that I strive to, to be
Mhm.
able to get to that, to at least get like a point out of the
I
whole thing.
identify as.
Yeah, all right. But again, that's like goes back to the point. Everybody's got their strengths and their weaknesses and what they're going to do and get their points on, right? Like we just happen to get a lot of our points off the shooting courses
Yep.
because that's our strength, right? And then we try to work, obviously lean into your strengths, but then work on the weaknesses as well and things that aren't going to be that are workable, right? Like faster ruck time, right? Like those are the kind of things we want to work on for next year. But before we get into that and things we want to work on for next year and changes for next year, um, so wrap up, got everything done, finished all the course of fire, going to the award ceremony. Claire had a fantastic first place trophy made up. It's a couple like prop AKs crossed with some prop RPG rounds with like first place on it that each winner gets each year. We did not take first place or second or third, but I will brag on our team because it's the team that I'm bragging on. Is we beat all of the recreational teams, which in of itself is a feat because we're wearing body armor the whole time and they're not necessarily wearing body armor. And that's not to belittle their what they've done, but we beat all the recreational teams. And in my mind, and I don't think I ever said this out loud, and maybe I did once or twice, but my goal was to beat all the recreational teams and some hardcore teams, which we did. Because we were definitely not last place in hardcore. Do you guys remember what place we finished?
I that one I don't know because you're the one that dug it up out of a like because they don't really tell you. You have to like decipher it. Remember?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was your based on your score. I'll try to pull it up here while we're
Well,
going and kind of closing
we
out.
were like basically right in the middle,
In the
and I
middle.
think we're like bottom half. Like I think if we moved up one place, we'll have been top half of the scorers rank, and that's my goal for next year. I want to hit top half now. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
that's my
We can do
goal.
that.
Oh, 100%. Because once again, like looking back in hindsight, it's like the little changes, the little adjustments we could make because it wasn't even by much. It was literally just a handful of points. So
We'd have been 0 points if Tyler would have done 4 pull-ups.
I know we should have skipped the last stage, and I should have done 4 pull-ups. That's what I should.
Probably, dude. That last stage. Oh man.
Yeah, I know, right?
I know we would have gotten 1 point and been at 0.
Perfect.
Wouldn't have been negative, but would have been hilarious actually kind of having that like that final, like score be 0. Right.
Yeah,
So
How'd you do? We got a 0.
yeah. Oh, is that
yeah,
good?
exactly. Oh
You-
wow, good job, I think.
But I guess in any more thoughts in closing on this past year's match. Obviously the first match for a couple of you. I think this is my fourth and Tyler's second.
Yep.
Any more thoughts?
It was
Yeah,
fun.
of like
I mean, dude, like I'm saying, I go back to the brotherhood thing. Um, we're yeah, we very much enjoy firearms. We enjoy tactical stuff. We do. There's all these things. Well, you know the old meme. It says, "I'd have never met all of these wonderful people had it not been for firearms." It's the
it's
truth.
true.
You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I'd have not had these friends. I mean, I'd have had Daryl, but I mean that's different because he and
Yeah,
I go
I
to
don't count.
no. It's a it's a different deep. If we didn't have firearms, we'd still be doing what we're doing and how we're
Oh,
doing it.
Oh yeah.
absolutely.
But I mean, we even backing that up, we wouldn't be match directors because we'd never done it he had never done it himself and I won't do it myself.
Right,
It's there's all
right.
these things that make that. So I'm going back to the brotherhood part of that. Yeah, we probably I hope the team lasts for a really long time, but it depends on what happens in life and to whomever and whatever. And um, but I don't see a reason not to excel. And I don't see a reason not to go do more of these things as we get more, how do I say it, experience.
Hmm.
Well, I draw the line at international travel.
Well,
I, I do not though. For the record,
Yeah, I
the
well,
know.
Finnish brutality is on my bucket list, hands
well,
down.
okay. That one at the YO Ranch or whatever it is that Nathan and all those guys are always talking about.
Yeah.
It's in Texas. Hey, like I'm saying, this will, I'd love to stay close like this. I mean, zombies kind of a ways away, but um, and that's a little bit different. But for something like this, yeah, I want to go do a whole bunch of these things if I can, and I want to retire doing this. You know,
Um. Yeah. I to echo a lot of what you guys said. It's one of those things where it's the event that you train for, or you think about weekly, even in the middle of the winter, or you train in the middle of the winter for. It's a reason why you purchase, like for me, a lot of times I purchase things specifically because I want them to function well in the Wolverine 5K, right?
Hmm.
And it's the time that you put in the hope of self improvement in that direction too, right? And just being able to do it with a bunch of guys who take it just as serious and relying on them to fill in a gap for skill sets that you may not have, and then them stepping up and being like, yeah, that's not a problem.
Yep.
Like Tyler and I always talk about like the orienteering part. We know this year coming up, there's not going to be the canoe. There's going to be a lot more orienteering, and I know Brent and Deryl have spent a lot of time with that, and we're looking forward to learn about it. But it's nice to be able to have people that are like interested in that area and to say, yeah, I'm gonna put that effort into that. I'm gonna work in that space, and then let somebody else to step up and say, I'm gonna do work in this space to try to
Hmm.
improve our score each year.
Yeah. So, in case you're curious, we got 10th place out of 16 for hardcore.
That's pretty good. So then that would put 10th out of 32, I think, overall.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which I'll take that. That's top. That's top
Oh,
30. I'll take
100%.
that.
Yeah, we did great.
Yep. And that
Yeah,
was
let's
first
not
year.
go anymore. We did good, fine.
I know, right?
Yeah. Which is, I know I'm just seeing like one. We got 1 point.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at
I
it.
know that's
And
hilarious.
Yeah.
But it gives you something to motivate you for the next year to go the negative, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, not only negative, but the top 50% is
Oh,
a
yeah.
goal.
Yeah.
I agree with that. It was said earlier, but
Of
I agree with
hardcore.
that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
the top
Yep.
50% of hardcore for sure.
Yeah, we can do it.
We can. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I agree. Even if the kneecap people along the way.
Even without that,
They were like,
we
I
can do
thought
it
this.
on
I
our
thought this.
merit, Phil.
I thought Team Trigicon went out into the do the ruck. Where are they? I don't know. I didn't see
Yeah.
them.
That's why they don't let you carry firearms on the
That's
rock.
probably. Well, I was trying to
It's just-
figure out how they finished that because their leader, the guy that shot so well, he was hurting, man. His knees were hurting. Did you
Yeah,
see
yeah,
they
him?
were.
crazy. Wow.
So he put out for that. Um, but yeah, I don't to tell you, they did something right because they dimed it.
Yeah, I still remember. I've told Philip this. I remember when we were doing the 5K competition. We're still doing stages. I look over. I'm like, man, Team Churchicon. Why are they just sitting there doing nothing? And come to find, it's like, oh, because they're done.
Done. Yeah.
They're done.
And
We
yes,
still have like 3 stages left.
and yes, it is that Trigicon. They're based out of Michigan, so they do run a team every year. I think they only got one person that works at Trigicon, but the
Hmm.
rest of them have been with them for quite a while.
Well,
So,
according to
and
the score,
Trigicon,
go for it.
what's up?
No, I'm saying according
I'll
to
say
the score list, there are 2 Team Trigicons.
that's right. And they actually donate a lot of optics to the match
Oh
as
yeah.
well too, which is kind of cool. So I've never won anything at that match, by the way.
Me
Nope.
neither.
Crazy.
Dude, it was like I still remember 2 years ago, Philip and we literally got sandwiched. The person behind us and the
Yeah.
person in
Yep.
front of us got something, and we didn't.
People walking off with like Trigicon optics, plate carrier, scope mounts, and all this stuff. And
HRT carriers. I'm like,
yep.
wow.
Yeah. And that's not why we do this, but
No,
it's just hilarious.
it
Some
is.
people have all the luck. Um, so kind of to round this conversation out here, and to wrap down the podcast, any changes in equipment, training? I know we've talked about that a little bit already for this coming year that you guys have made, to your setups just to be able to improve times or just to look cooler.
Yep.
Because everybody know, Tyler, what's the most important thing?
Being
Don't say
fast,
it.
Being Asian.
Looking cool.
being Asian
Don't.
fast, being Mojo
Looking cool.
fast,
Looking cool is the most important thing.
looking like the flannel father.
Yeah.
Gosh.
No, one of the things that I changed out that I was not happy with, but just didn't see any other platforms that I was going to try. My side arm, how that, how most of us have the kind of a thigh molded piece that comes down off of your belt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you guys remember it, but I think I showed it to you last time we were out shooting long
Yeah.
range.
Yep.
But that alien gear, dog, I'm not even gonna remember what it's called.
Rapid Force. Is that what it is?
No, that's my actual holster for my gun. The actual
Oh,
holster,
okay.
but the drop leg itself is way to go, Brent. I'm so happy with it, but
It's all good.
Anyway, so yes, that is a change that I've made. Much more comfortable, moves with your body, points everything about it. So, yep, I'm
Yep,
there already with that change.
it's the rapid force swivel drop leg.
That's it. You got it, man. So, very
Yeah.
happy with that.
And a lot of that, like we talked about earlier, is really shakes out your gear. So if you find something like that, Brent, where it just wasn't working for you the previous like cycle, like I ran a match running a drop leg holster with a thigh strap. I'm quite tall, and that does not work out well for me, and it's just pulling at my pants the whole time, which
Right,
irritated the crap out of me. And I was like, you know, I don't need this, so I switched to just like a drop and then offset
right.
from Safari Land.
Mhm.
Which I think most of you guys are running close to belt, right? What do you, Daryl? What are you running?
I got a drop leg with a thigh strap.
Okay,
Mhm. Yeah, I was about to say
Yep.
Daryl and I are twins. We literally
Yep.
run the same thing.
Right.
well,
Yep.
here's
Hashtag
That's the
twinning.
same thing.
I know. The only difference is we don't run the same gun. That's like the
Yeah.
only difference.
Yep. The one of the cool things about the alien gear thing is, and I think I told you that it comes. One of the options was a tourniquet, a built-in tourniquet on that leg strap.
That's right.
Yeah,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah,
Yep.
and I mean, kudos to Alien Gear. I got the wrong thing. I ordered the right thing. They sent me the wrong thing. I emailed them and said, "Hey, sorry." They said, "Hey," they said, "Merry Christmas." So kudos to Alien Gear if you're listening. Thanks, man.
You can sponsor us too if you want.
Any day,
There it
any
is. Every
time.
single episode, and I think this is going to be a thing now. Tyler's like, you can sponsor us,
I
even though we are
I
we are
feel
creating a
that
backlog of these episodes, and nobody's listened to this at this point yet.
the funny thing is I'm surprised only now you've noticed that, Philip. I've
Oh no, I've noticed.
okay, I was about to say I've literally plugged it in every single one jokingly, but Taco Bell seriously sponsor us. That's the one I'm serious
um,
about.
okay, so getting back on topic, I did make some gear changes that I actually tried out all of them at the zombie match this year, and I did do I got an SBR, and I did like the whole registration process and everything with that. Thanks ATF, and
I don't know.
I did run that. I actually really like having something a little bit smaller. We've had stages in the past where you're like in and out of a vehicle. Nice to have a little shorter of a weapon. And then also I want to run. I think I want to do this, but I want to run suppressed this next match just because
Oh
it's again
man,
it's trying out your gear. And if I was going to do like an SHTF scenario, I would definitely run suppressed. So I've got a piston upper. With a suppressor, and then I did change out my pistol this coming year recently as well too with the Smith and Wesson competitor, which is just a different version of the core that I had. It's just metal frame instead of a polymer frame.
Well, you did.
Um,
You both you and Daryl did really well at the zombie, so that gear must have worked.
yeah, actually, and it's funny because sometimes like you get gear and it gets in your head and you're like, hey, I got this new cool thing, and that just makes you shoot better, like subconsciously, I suppose. But yeah, a lot of it too. When people talk about, I know we talked about this earlier, but a lot of it is finding like being good at shooting obviously in the physical tasks, but finding stuff that works for you, because I know Daryl was mentioning like he had a plate carrier that was just hanging too low, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I've had pistols in the past where like I got massive hands. I'm a tall dude. I had pistols that just did not fit my hands well. Could not get a good grip on the pistol. So that's why I shoot Smith and Wesson, because they have the palm swells instead of like the palm extensions. Those kind of things. Just finding the stuff that works out for you. Tyler and I always joke too. You guys run the HRT stuff, which is I would say a little bit like normal, but I would say a little bit bulkier. Where it's like I'm used to being a tall guy getting stuck in places because my height, right? So I intentionally run a slick carrier. I run a slickster from Feral Concepts with like minimal stuff, just so I don't get hung up on stuff, knowing that physically I have that problem, like this in general in life, right? So finding those things and like testing out your gear, extremely important for this match.
The biggest thing that's important for this match is to train. So if anybody's listening, get your gear out, get your team together, go shoot, go train, go run drills. I'm not talking about go shoot pool at some bar somewhere with your team, but
No.
get
Hey,
it out, get sweating, have your teammates yelling at you like, I don't want to do this anymore. Then you've done it.
yeah.
So
One of the
so go ahead. I was
one
actually going to say real quick, Brent, thanks for segueing, because the last topic I wanted to cover before we call it was Normally we do dad advice, but this is match advice. So thanks for kicking us off.
Hmm.
Go ahead, Daryl.
Well, I was one of the main things that I wanted to change it, not with my gear, because I really like the way my gear operates. It served me well last year in both matches, but when we train, we've got to get off the benches with our rifles. We all
Yeah.
of see, 90% of our long range practice last year was done from a bench, and it
Yeah.
did not
Yep.
serve us very well.
Yeah. And what did we? I was gonna say we started fixing that already. This last time we were shooting, we started off on the bench, but then we started doing off barricade,
Yeah.
knowing that that was a problem.
But even that was the barricade was uh, pretty solid.
Yeah.
I mean, not like we were working
Like a
off of a
barrel.
barrel that was going
Yeah.
to roll away from us if we leaned.
I
That's
know.
true, Daryl. Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of different shooting techniques that we could work on, that we should work on with our carbines. And
Uh, so Tyler, real quick for you, any match advice for those who may be seeking out a Wolverine 5K or similar type match?
Yeah. For me, Phil knows this. I'm really big on fundamentals. Just it's really easy to look at matches like the Wolverine 5K and maybe get overwhelmed or nervous, but focus on your fundamentals. You can easily do low round count stuff because I get it. For me, being a pastor, I hear it from people where inflation's hard, money is tight, but I be like Brent, dry fire.
dry
That's
fire.
free.
Yep.
I
Hmm.
know it's not boring. I know it's not sexy, but focus on the fundamentals, dry fire, and you can get extremely very proficient doing just that. It's just like
Hmm.
anything else, whether it's working out, sports, life, math, just focus on the fundamentals.
Math.
Math.
Yeah, I know, right? As earlier, my math was way off.
Well, it's interesting. I know Ben Stoger, he went from like C or B class to GM in a year of like I think he said he only shot like 1,800 rounds or something like that, and dry fired the rest of it, which is unheard of. That is a
That's
godly amount of dry fire.
wow.
And I will say Tyler is a I've shot longer than Tyler, but Tyler is a better pistol shooter than I am. It's because Tyler does a lot more dry fire than I do, and it's one of those things where it's on my list. Competing priorities is always a thing, and it's not an excuse. But I actually created a stand, 3D printed a stand just for dry fire, so I can have my pistol out
That's awesome.
when it's not locked
Cool.
away. Thanks, Michigan.
Yeah.
Well,
Where I've got it, yeah, I've got it
it's,
out
it's
to
funny you
use.
say that though, because I'm using Ben Stoger's stuff this year for dry fire,
Yep,
and Daryl and I on vacation we read his adaptive rifle, which has got a bunch of dry fire stuff in it as well that we're
nice.
using. So yeah, Ben,
Good
he's kind
stuff.
of he's a big wheel when it comes to dry fire and putting your mind to something.
Hmm. What about you?
Um,
Philip?
yeah,
Yep.
so my advice to kind of round this out is and something that Tyler started picking up on a little bit, but if you want to do a match like this, obviously Rome was not built in a day. You know, people would love to use that analogy, but get out there and start shooting. Like I was looking back at like some pop up stuff that popped up in Facebook, and it's been probably like 9 years now since I started shooting, maybe a little longer. Um, but go out and shoot like a CMP match. Go shoot a Steel Challenge match. Then go shoot a USPSA match. And then go shoot a 3 gun match. And eventually you'll work yourself up there as you kind of get those skills and get proficient. And like these guys are saying, dry fire can really help you with that proficiency. Obviously, safety is king. So there's a lot of things that you can learn with dry fire, including safety. Things like, when you go bring the rifle up, safety off, rifle down, safety on. Those kind of things, right? Finger out of the trigger, those kind of
Yep.
things. But just setting goals and having like a plan of where you want to end up and getting there. The Wolverine 5K was always a goal of mine. When I found out about it, I was like, "Holy crap, I want to do that." And so I like would take the effort to kind of get there, and I signed up with a team that was a little bit older guys that were a little bit slower, and they're like, "Hey, we know you're young, but like if you want to do this with us, totally fine." I'm like, "You know what? I have zero expectation of how this is going to go. I just want to be there and do it." And then as we progressed and those guys retired, brought in Tyler, brought in Brent and Deryl to really get that team solidified, and knowing that they would have those kind of dreams as well too. And again, just doing it with some really cool dudes. I honestly, there is nobody else I'd rather do that match with than the people that are on the podcast with us right now, because you guys are fantastic. My last bit of advice is Chick-fil-A lemonade. It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh.
It's
Have you had their Chick-fil-A sponsor us? But have you had their mango one?
I have not, but I got it the other day. I didn't realize you could get strawberry syrup to go with it, and it was next level. So we're gonna do that from here on out. Worth the 40 cents.
so it's my turn for a question for all of you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are you most looking forward to in this next match? Start with Phil.
Oh man, I want them to bring the flamethrower back.
That's a
That
good
was a
one.
lot of fun.
Yes, that would be fun.
Yeah, honestly, my favorite stage is every year is the one where it is the people they've done it the past couple of years, where you've got 3 people on carbine and 1 person on the long range rifle. I want to get us to the point where we destroy that stage this coming year.
Sure.
That is what I'm looking forward to the most.
Okay.
All right, I get to pick. Brent next.
I would have to say that gigantic hill.
There's always a hill, man.
Fortunately, this year there will not be as bad of a hill, because I mean there is that one hill, Tyler. Sorry, I forgot about that.
That hill from 2 years ago is pretty bad too.
Oh, and you know they're going to have it again this next year.
Yeah. In all seriousness, guys, and I know that I'm beating this horse, but I am just as much looking forward to training for this year, like I have been, and increasing that training, as I am for the match itself. I know that sounds kind of sick and twisted a little bit, but pushing each other and planning times and getting out to the range and doing what we did and taking the stages that clear leaks and putting some practice into them. That's what I'm looking forward to. That and the hill.
Yeah.
The backside of the hill.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, you get to go next.
Tyler.
I'm really excited about the extra physicality this upcoming year, because
You would be.
because weightlifting was one of my first passions. I really got into it my sophomore year in high school, and I just never stopped. And it's really cool. Now I'm like, I can actually, because in the lifting world, I'm more of a power lifter, but there's more of the functional strength. So now I get to see, it's like, okay, how much of my lifting is actually functional? So
Right.
now I get to test my firearms proficiency. How functional is that? But I'm also getting to test how functional is my training. And if it's not, that means I need to change things up in my fitness training now. So
What is it that Grand Thumb says? Get fit or die.
I have no idea for sure. The
Who's
flannel
that?
spoken.
You were talking about the flannel daddy before, Tyler. I thought, okay.
I don't watch
I'm
him.
gonna
Okay, I do.
shut up and drink.
It's been a while.
I'm gonna shut up and drink my lemonade.
The flannel father.
All right,
All right.
Daryl, how about you, man?
Tyler, you get to pick who's next.
Philip,
You get to pick somebody who hasn't gone next.
round 2.
I was going to say he's bad at math.
Hey, Bill does not rhyme with Daryl. All right, Daryl, you go.
All right. So one of the things that I was actually looking forward to it last year, and it didn't happen because their facility wasn't quite ready yet. But if you remember, they were working on, and since they have opened their 3/4 of a mile
That's right.
trail
let's
through the
go.
woods for a longer distance run and gun type thing, and I really hope they haven't dropped that completely. I think that would be a lot of fun, and I also think that our team would do very well in it.
I agree. Unless, and Claire, if you're listening, which you probably aren't, turn off the podcast right now. What if they did it with a bow and arrow?
I'd be okay. I'd be okay with that.
Yep, me too.
I would not be okay with
Yes, you would.
that.
Why do I mean, what if that 3/4 miles one is like all that extra brutality stuff, like with the rope climb, jumping over barricades and stuff?
Oh,
Bring it.
I could see
insightful.
that because with all that
Insightful.
space, that could be it. So
Yeah. Or maybe you just gave him the idea to run it in that space.
yeah,
I might only have one stage in me, but that'll be the one, Doug.
there we go. That's
Yep.
the first one, guys.
And for the record, I am going to send this to Claire. Whether or not he listens to it, I don't know. So I
Yeah,
apologize to all the other competitors that this may happen, or
there
probably
you
not.
go.
All right. Well, Brent, Daryl, I really appreciate you guys coming on with us.
Thank you for the invite.
When we yeah, absolutely. And when we initially thought about this podcast, this was one of the reasons why we wanted to do it, to have people on that we love to shoot with, that we had experiences with, that have skill sets that are different than ours. And you guys were on that very, very short list of people to initially have on. For the listeners, we will have them on again. For those of you who don't know, and we'll get to learn more about them and pull back the veil on who Brent and Daryl are a little bit more, and find out about how they are match directors. They kind of alluded to a little bit earlier for USPSA at our local club, and they do a fantastic job with that. Really a vital part of the community in the area, as well as being ROs. They also do CPL classes, which we'll talk about down the road as well too, and bring them back on. And then of course, Daryl's got some experience with long range shooting, so we've got some ideas of bringing him back on, and maybe we'll get Brent to come join us as well for that. With that, Tyler, any parting shots?
I'm good, bro.
I thought you were going to say sponsor us.
Sponsor us.
All right. Well, I thank everybody. Again, thank you for our guests, and thank you for everybody who's listening to the Acceptable Accuracy podcast. And next week, we will come back and are we talking about touch tone phones
I
or
think so.
Taco Bell? I can't remember.
Or both.
Or both.
And Chick-fil-A.
And Chick-fil-A, the Lord's Chicken. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a
We'll
lot.
see you later.
Bye.
Bye.